Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. We will now formally open this meeting of the Illinois Board of Review for today, Thursday, January 16th, 2025. There are several preliminary matters that we need to review with everyone because we now have a hybrid option here. We have people who will be in the room and individuals who've chosen to review and participate remotely. So the first thing to consider is that this is a formal hearing. So we ask that you be prepared to present yourselves in that fashion, as if you were in the room or in a particular courtroom. So that means, gentlemen, no wearing headgear, no reclining in your bed or your easy chair. Please dress appropriately. And also, we have a formal court reporter who will be.
Hello?
Yes. Are you hearing us? Are you
Yes.
hearing us? Okay.
Yes, you left at the court reporter.
Yes, yeah, we have a court reporter who was recording everything that's said. So each of us must be patient, allow the person speaking to complete the statement. Everyone will be given an opportunity to speak. So no crosstalk or speaking over anyone, because the record will be garbled if that occurs. The next thing I want to say to you is that the law department will be asked to give us a list of cases that have been resolved and/or formal requests for continuances. Some of those matters will be noted as moot or moot complied. If your address or name is called, please pay close attention, because if you moot or moot complied, your matter is resolved. You can excuse yourself from the hearing. If you want to understand what the difference is between a moot or moot complied case, call the administrator's office and someone there will explain it to you. Please do not break in to ask that question during the hearing. We have a long list of cases we want to hear, and we want everyone to have a fair opportunity to present their case. So we don't want to stop and try to explain those matters to everyone. So please pay close attention. So the board will introduce itself and the other panelists. After that, we will hear from the law department. I'm Kenneth Woodson, board chair.
I'm Steve Pettit, board member.
Roger S. Pettit, Senior Board Member.
Beverly Penn, board member.
Brian McSherry, Board of Counsel.
Auto Boards Administration.
Okay, we just need a moment. We have a technical problem we need to fix before we proceed.
Test real quick.
Test, 1, 2, 1, 2, test, 1, 2.
I think your speakers were feeding back in to this.
Hello?
microphone.
You need me to
Okay.
test also? Test 1, 2?
Okay.
1, 2, 3, testing.
Testing.
Okay, good. I think we're ready to go. Okay, we'll hear from the law department.
Good afternoon, Chairman Woodson, Kristen Patchell for the city.
Afternoon.
Chairman Woodson, today we will start with number 10 on the list, HA 2024-002766, 5801 Market Street. Appellant.
Wait. You said number 10?
Yes.
Okay, my apologies.
No, that's okay. Appellant TNT Grocery 5 Inc. Chairman Woodson, this was an appellant continuance request. There's no objection from the city.
Okay, just one moment.
Yes.
We got a bit of a glitch here. Just one moment. Another list. Yeah. It's the wrong list. I had it. Okay, I'm back. Number
Okay.
10, continuance?
Yes, no objection from the city.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. David Chandler for the for TNT Grocery, and we asked for the continuance. And we appreciate the board counsel having no objection to it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Chairman Woodson, the next matter will be number 19.
19,
Yes, HA 2024-000-541, 1236 South 28th Street. That is appellant Carol Collier, and that was an appellant continuance request. Again, no objection from the city.
okay, is this the first listing of this matter?
I don't know that, Chairman Woodson.
Okay, so this is a continuing request. Okay. I need to beg your indulgence just for a moment. I need to go off the record for about 3 minutes.
Of
Let's do
course.
that.
Sure.
Back on the record now.
Yes, Chairman Woodson. So that takes us next to number 20 on the list.
Okay,
HA 2023-002913, 7043 Gillespie Street, appellant Gillespie Partnership LLC. Chairman Woodson, this also will be the same status for 21, which is HA 2023-002914, 7045 Gillespie Street. Same appellant, Gillespie Partnership LLC. This is a joint continuance request. There has been previous continuance requests. No objection to must be tried on behalf of the city.
okay, because this is, according to our records, at least the third listing. And so this matter has to move forward next time. We will grant it
Yes.
this time, but it's a must be tried requirement, okay?
Yes, Chairman Woodson.
Yeah, for both 2913 and 2914.
Thank you.
Okay.
Moving on to number 22, HA 2024-001-222, 700 North Delaware Avenue, Altino Concrete Construction LLC. This matter was withdrawn by the appellant.
Withdrawn, thank you.
Number 23, HA 2024-001555, 123 South 50th Street, appellant Just Mike the Poet, Inc. This was an appellant continuance request unopposed by the city.
Okay, this is the second listing. I need to better, is the appellant present? Is Just Mike the Poet a representative for that entity present?
Chairman Woodson, this is Jim Kelly on behalf of the city. I do not see him here. He had requested a continuance this is my case, to board's admin earlier this week. The city is not opposing this request because the appellant both did contracting work at the property and owns the property. So the continuance request was so that he also received violations for this work as the owner. So the continuance request is so that all three of those cases may be heard together at the next listing.
Okay, so that's what I needed to understand. We do know you're aware of the other outstanding matters, and we're actively working to consolidate them into one hearing?
Yeah, I have the HA numbers if you would like me to read them.
Oh,
into
no,
the-
I don't need the HA number. I just
Okay.
need to know that someone's doing it. So that's happening. Mr. Kelly?
Yes, I believe that request was made to board's admin, and I that was my
Okay.
understanding, was that it
All
would
right,
be.
thank you very much. So for 123 South 50th Street, 1555, we will consider that matter continue.
Continuing on to 24, HA 2024-001788, 24 North 3rd Street. The appellant is Jian Chan. This is a settlement agreement for a city affirm with a $1,500 fine.
City affirm, $1,500 fine. Okay, thank you.
Continuing to number 26, HA 2024-003145. This is for 445 Fairmount Ave, appellant Sam Alayan. This is a settlement agreement for a city affirm with a $1,500 fine.
$1,500 fine. Thank you.
Continuing on to number 27, HA 2021-001066, 2173 East William Street. The appellant is Green Tree Group Contracting LLC. This is a settlement agreement. It's a city affirm for a $5,000 fine and a license suspension dated from July 18th, 2024 to January 19th, 2026. The full terms of the agreement were put in writing and sent to the board this afternoon.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone present representing the appellant? Do you know?
I don't know
thank
if defense counsel wanted to sign on or not.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Continuing on to number 28, which is HA 2021-004900, 260 South 16th Street. This is for Ferrero Construction Group, LLC. This matter is moot.
Moot, thank you.
Next on the list is HA 2024-001163, 3895 Richmond Street. Appellant is Ann Gutekunst, DBA Thomas P. Carney, Inc. And this matter has been withdrawn by agreement.
Withdrawn, thank you.
It's a settlement withdrawn by agreement.
Pardon me?
A settlement, but it was withdrawn by agreement.
I'm not sure that, for the record, that's, you need to be clear. Has it been withdrawn, or do you have a settlement? Is so
I'll
Members of the
turn-
board, this is Jeffrey Cohen from the city. I actually worked out the settlement with Thomas P. Carney, Inc. There is a settlement agreement in place, but as part of that settlement agreement, Thomas P. Carney has withdrawn its appeal. That way they could do it
okay.
offline. This was all handled over email, I think about 2 days ago. So the
Okay.
board does have copies of those emails.
Okay,
Thank
all
you.
right. The settlement includes the withdrawal of the appeal.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And lastly, number 30, HA 2024-001465, 211 South 12th Street, appellant Ben Magness. This was a settlement agreement. It's a city affirm with a $2,000 fine.
$2,000 fine. Thank you very much. Okay, do we have anyone else? If there are others with preliminary matters, please use the raise hand sign, because you're not present in the room. And then we will call on you based on that. Do we have anyone else with a preliminary matter before we proceed? Okay, not seeing anyone.
Oh, there's a couple hands raised.
Okay, I was looking for the raised hand sign, not your physical hand.
No, they're up there.
Okay, all right. Mr. Cohen, for some reason, yours is the only one that came up, but hold on a moment. Maybe something's happening with my screen. Just 1 second.
I think my colleagues Len Reuter and Jim Kelly are in the queue before me.
Oh, that's fine. Go ahead,
Oh,
Joe.
and sorry, and Rose's Lawlin,
Okay, all right.
also
Okay.
from the city.
All right, Mr. Cohen, we'll hear from you.
All right, well, as a preliminary matter, I want to raise number 11 to the board's attention. This was filed by Maria E. Espinal Perez, but the license holder at issue in this case is MOP Incorporated. I just wanted to flag that because either it is a standing issue with respect to the appellant or there is an attorney needed to represent the entity.
Okay, I see Ms. Espinal, ma'am. Would you please unmute and identify yourself? Maria Espinal? If you could unmute yourself.
Yes, I am here, Maria.
Yes,
Espinal.
ma'am. What is your relationship to this property?
I am the owner from the grocery store.
Okay.
Yes,
Was the violation, in the grocery store is owned by a corporation though, isn't it?
yes,
Okay. Given that the violation, I believe, was also written to a corporation, wasn't it, or just you as an individual? Mr. Cohen, can you help us out
Well,
with this?
this matter is actually a tobacco renewal denial for a
Okay.
tobacco permit. It was written to MOP Incorporated. If
Okay,
if an attorney is required to represent the corporation, the city would then ask that this be continued, and with
Yes.
the instruction that she hire an attorney to represent the corporate entity.
Ms. Espinal, you need to hire an attorney to represent you before the board because of the corporate ownership of the supermarket. Your violation notices also should have indicated that. So
Uh,
you can't
oh.
represent yourself in this matter,
okay, I'm sorry.
okay?
Okay,
All right. So now also, while I'm asking, will there be a need for an interpreter?
yes,
Okay, so we'll know for the record that we will also, what language will you need interpreting?
Spanish.
Spanish? Okay, we'll make sure a Spanish interpreter is present when the case is rescheduled.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you. Actually, that leads me to number 12, which should be fairly quick. I see Attorney Ed McHugh, who is representing the appellant M&F Supermarket, Inc. I just wanted to make sure there is a Spanish interpreter here as one was requested.
Yes, we do have a Spanish interpreter present.
Oh, then this can be called in regular order. I just wanted to make sure.
Yep.
And lastly, I have number 14, which was an appeal filed by Russ Lehman involving a streets department notice. I believe Mr. Avram Hornick has made a continuance request previously over email. It's actually my understanding Avram Hornick is an attorney in Pennsylvania. I just want to make sure to clarify for the record if he is representing the appellant.
Okay, is that individual present?
I am, Mr. Chairman, and yes, I am an attorney and I am representing the appellant.
Okay, and so you will be, are you prepared to move forward today, or is this pending, this outstanding continuance request?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, there's a continuance request here.
Okay,
It's
what's
the
the city's
appellant's,
position?
so it's the appellant's continuance request. The city is opposed. The city does note that this matter was continued once before at the city's request, but that was due to the unavailability of the city's witness. The city's witness is actually here. Actually, both witnesses are here today. We are prepared to proceed. And we do oppose a further continuance because the reason or the rationale Mr. Hornick is requesting the continuance from his email is he just wants more time to be able to bring this into compliance, where it's kind of an admission that it is not currently in compliance.
Okay, so Mr. Hornick, this is, and actually we have another matter that we need to resolve as well. But what, you put on the record your request, the basis of your request?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is for a streetery for a restaurant located at 23rd and Walnut. As you're aware, the streetery application process is brand new with the city, and there has been some kinks that I'm working it out. This was previously licensed as a temporary streetery. This application process began with L&I in December of 2023, and the process has been ongoing. We've been diligently complying with the city's requests, but it is a new process for the city, and it has taken over a year to get this far. We have a hearing scheduled on January 22nd, next week, with the Art Commission, which I believe is the final approval that L&I needs to authorize this streetery. So because it's a new process, the streeteries are new, it's taken the city and L&I this long to process the application. I included with my appeal copies of the Eclipse, the L&I record to show that we applied for this permit. It has just taken L&I this long to complete the application process, which is no problem.
Okay,
I can
now,
actually respond to 3 points. The first is that the history of this property does have on it a sidewalk cafe license and a temporary sidewalk cafe license during the period of the COVID-19 shutdowns. Those are not a streetery license. And in fact, we've been over this with a previous appeal that has been before this board. Sidewalk cafes are on the sidewalk and need to be made of movable tables and chairs, not a physical structure that is immovable. The physical structure here is immovable. It is in the parking lane, not on the sidewalk. And it has existed since, I believe, at least 2022. And essentially what that, sorry, that's the sidewalk cafe temporary
yeah, I guess,
license.
Mr. Cohen, I just want to ask you to not to get too into
that's
the
fair.
the facts of the case. We're really arguing about the continuance request.
Yes, one of the points I would like to make about the continuance request is that this streetery has existed for several years and has not had either a license or a building permit for that time. What Mr. Hornick is talking about with the Art Commission approval process is for the permit, the building permit for the physical structure, not the license, which also needs to come after a permit is issued. So the representation that he is close to approval is not entirely accurate. As also inaccurate, my third point is that the approvals process here has involved several requests for revisions sent by L&I back to the applicant. It's a little too simplistic to say L&I has been delaying this process. L&I has been participating in the process and requesting revisions from the applicant.
Okay, so Mr. Hornick, before we move forward, I just want to be clear. This is Art Commission hearing is basically based on your building permit application, correct? That's what has gotten you to this point? And so you need a review before you can get a building permit, correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and I just want to clarify that we did have a street area permit, which expired in 2022, and that was for the current structure that we have now. So that was
Okay.
licensed by the city. We have a Saba Cafe permit in addition, but I have a copy of the street area license, which I.
Okay, we aren't going to argue the underlying
Yeah,
facts of the
so
case.
we
But I
have
just want to respond to your request for continuance. And so
Yes.
that's where we are right now.
We've been-
So this hearing for the Art Commission is on the 22nd of January?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, all right, thank you. Now, before we go any further, though, we do have this matter of the timeliness of the appeal. And so we need to, as our procedures now require, we need to have a quick hearing regarding a non-pro tunc request, which is you need relief from us in order to even file your appeal because of the nature of the filing dates. So, Mr. Cohen, you prepared to do that now?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it was in the city's exhibits that were already submitted. If not, we
Yeah,
can,
so I'm asking you that because I just need someone to put up the filing dates, the violation dates and the filing dates so that we can hear from Mr. Hornick as to why the appeal doesn't appear to be timely. Mr. Hornick, are you prepared to make that argument?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so Mr. Cohen, you can share your screen when you're ready.
of course, I actually only need to share the Board of L&I review appeal. The date of the violation was October 23rd, and as you can see, the appeal itself was received November 28th. I believe that's 36 days as opposed to 30 days.
Okay. And then to 11/28, okay. All right, thank you. Mr. Hornick, any response?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. We were in the process, the street area process was brand new for the city. I'm on the board of the Pennsylvania Restaurant and Lodging Association. I was active with the city in terms of the street area planning process, establishing how it was going to be established. We participated in lots of meetings, and it was an ongoing process. We were exploring what to do when we got this violation, whether it was appropriate to appeal, whether there was some other permit or application we need to apply through the city. So it just took us a little longer, 6 days longer than the appeal process to try to figure out, because this process was brand new for everyone involved.
Okay, thank you. All righty, unless there are any additional questions from anyone? If not, we will then poll the board regarding HA 2023-004909 to 2220 Walnut Street with regard to whether or not to provide non-pro tunc relief. My vote is to provide the relief and grant it.
Relief granted. Granted.
Relief granted.
Okay, thank you. Based on that vote, you will be permitted to proceed with this appeal, although it's a few days untimely. Okay? So the record will reflect that. Now, the issue of the continuance must be decided. Based on the argument and the upcoming Art Commission meeting, we will continue this matter. The city's objection is noted, Mr. Cohen, and I'm sure you'll be prepared to argue strenuously the city's position when we reschedule this matter.
Thank you. The city would request that this be a short continuance. I think the continuance requested by the appellant was 90 days. That is well past the January 22nd Art Commission hearing date.
Yeah, and I think we have dates starting March 3rd. I think that's the earliest date we can accommodate at this point, so we will do that. Okay?
Thank you, members of the board.
There's no objection. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we'll continue this matter. Okay, let's hear from Ms. Lachlan. You unmute yourself? Yes.
Yes, hello, good afternoon, board. I would like to read onto the record several preliminary matters on behalf
Okay,
of
just would you give us your name, please? I don't think we've met before.
So it's Roses Lachlan.
Okay. All righty. Which matters do you want to bring to our attention?
So first, the matter related to 146 Conroe Street, listed
Which,
for
that's number
subdivision.
one?
Yeah, number one.
Okay,
Last four digits, 1045. This matter is moot.
mute, thank you.
And then next, the matter listed number 2 on today's docket, 4272 Viola Street, last four digits 1051. Prior to today's hearing, the petitioner requested a continuance, and the city does not oppose this request.
Okay, we'll note it as continued.
And next, the
Oh,
matter
I'm sorry, before we move on, with that Viola Street though, we have a must be tried on the, because this is the third listing, I believe. So we need to have this thing move forward, next time it's up.
Okay, I can note that.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairperson.
Yes.
I don't know if we wanted to inquire as to the status of, because it was previously continued, I believe, so the appellant could solve some issues, at least based on their representation regarding the deed to the property
Yes.
and ownership and standing. And I don't know if you wanted to make an inquiry on the record just to the status of that prior
Yes.
to the continuance.
Ms. McLaughlin, are you aware of the status of the petitioner's ability to resolve the title to the property matter?
Yes, the petitioner has stated that they have been working on the deed. They're working with a deed from 1958, I believe, and trying to resolve issues with the deed. The city believes that they're making a good faith effort to move forward with that. And I believe that the petitioner is actually here, Miss Houston. I saw her. I don't know if you wanted to
I do see a
ask.
Helen Houston on the
I'm here.
screen. Ms. Houston, what kind of progress have you made in terms of getting that deed resolved, deed straightened out?
I was working with an abstract company to get this name change to proceed with you guys. And I kept running into problems with this company. They kept asking me for certain paperwork. Now, when I was in the office, the probate office, because they asked me when his name appeared on the deed beside my mother, I had to go and probate this will for Edward Lewis, who is my uncle. Now, I know for a fact in 1957, my
Okay, well,
mother,
Ms. Houston, wait a minute, wait, before we get too far in it, I just really want to know, are you making progress? And do you believe you can resolve this by the
yeah,
time we would
I
relist it?
believe this can be resolved. I seem to have everything I need to get
Okay.
this deed changed. It's just a matter of getting abstract company or real estate company to proceed with the city to change it.
Okay,
I
okay,
mean,
thank you.
this was a convoluted mess. It really
Well,
was.
we understand, that's why we agreed to continue it twice before, and we want to know that you've made progress.
Yeah, well, it's only been continued once, and that was behind the fact that they didn't want to deal with me as being the executrix.
Yes, Miss Houston, we understand. So, just one moment, please.
And
Just a matter of if you think this will possibly be resolved. I think 3/13 was the proposed date. If that's
Yeah, Ms.
does that
Houston, the
seem
next,
feasible that this will be resolved by that time?
yeah, Ms. Houston, you think you can have it resolved by March 13th?
hopefully, I'm doing my best. I'm doing my
Okay,
part.
let's do this. We
But
will,
you
we
know,
will ask the administrator to
the
give it a
whole-
longer continuance date. March 13th may be too soon. And so unless the city is opposed to that, we will continue this matter, and by virtue of today's on the record comments, ask that it be scheduled beyond March 13th. Okay?
What is it? What's the day?
We don't have a date for you, but it will not be the March 13th date that's currently available,
Oh.
because I'm not convinced that you'll be ready. So I want to give you enough
Okay.
time to get these things worked through. Okay, unless I
Okay.
get some objection from the
All
city.
right. You know what? Can I ask to have
Ma'am,
this?
ma'am,
Could
we're
I
in
ask
preliminary
to
matters. We
have
got to
this
get through
con-
all these other cases, okay? You can call the city's lawyer, Ms. Laughlin, if you have some additional questions, or you can go into a
Okay.
breakout room and talk to her.
Okay, I'd like to talk to her, please.
Okay, let's do, Ms. Laughlin, are you available to go into a breakout room?
I am. I do have three more
Okay,
preliminary
well, let's hear
matters.
from you on the three others. Ms. Houston, just remain where you are. And
Okay.
after Ms. Lachlan gets through her list, we will then put you in a breakout room to have a conversation with her, okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right, Ms. Lachlan, what else do you have?
Yes. So next is the matter listed number 4 on today's docket related to 3847 Red Lion Road, last 4 digits 2050. This matter is moot complied.
Thank you.
Next, the matter listed number 5 on today's docket related to 5663 Matthews Street, last 4 digits 3008. This matter is moot complied.
Thank you.
And finally, the matter listed number 6 on today's docket related to 334 Leverington Avenue, last 4 digits 4969. This matter is moot complied.
Move complied. Thank you.
And that concludes the preliminary matters for water.
Okay, thank you. The administrator will give you a prompt for a breakout room for you and Ms. Houston.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll get to that. Mr. Leonard Router?
Thank you, May it please board, Leonard Reuter for the city of Philadelphia. I have a couple matters preliminary to deal with. First is number 13, that's HA 2023-004309, 2535 to 37 South 13th Street. As of today, this matter can be marked moot complied. They obtained the license this morning.
Okay, thank you.
And I've notified counsel of same, and he didn't need to appear. So the next one, number 15, is HA 2023-002101, 782 to 84 South 3rd Street. Appellant Nate Ross. This is a streetery case. We know this has been continued a couple times in the past. However, in this instance, we do know, and we're able, to confirm as much as we could, that Mr. Ross came down with an extremely significant and grave medical issue over the past couple months. We also do know that he has been working with Councilmember Squilla's office on a private interest ordinance. I've discussed it with the Streets Department, and we do agree, we will not oppose his request for a continuance, which I believe he made to the board within the last week.
Okay, thank you. So you aren't concerned that the appellant is not making a valiant effort to resolve this, so there's no need for must be tried?
I think right now, as far as I know, it's kind of he has an architect that's been retained to work on plans for a more permanent streetery that would be the basis for private interest ordinance. So yeah, I'd rather not put a time limit on when Councilman Squilla would be able to do something. But if we give it like 90 days, I'm assuming this would all be resolved one way or the other.
Okay, thank you.
There is another one. This one is, again, we may want to just deal with this in the regular course, number 18. That's HA 2024-000202, 5302 Rising Sun Ave. The appellant is Ramaco Marketing Group, LLC. This is listed, and according to based upon the appeal documents, it appears to be an appeal from a health inspection report that took place about a year ago. But that health inspection report also included an indication that tobacco is being sold without a permit. And at the same time, CVNs were issued, and those were attached to the appeal. As this board knows, CVNs that are issued for tobacco-related violations are not appealed to the Board of L&I Review, but are instead brought before the Office of Administrative Review, so OAR or BAA, as it may be. So we believe that those, to the extent that there was an appeal from the CVNs, which are attached to the appeal documents, we believe, I don't know how it would work, but I don't know if this board can refer those to to the
Well-
appropriate board or what would happen.
I
And
would think we should do this, though. In this instance, is anyone present? Mr. Simon Randall Esquire, is that person present? If he's prepared to proceed today, what I want to do is call it in regular order and then hear arguments on either side to determine what we do next, okay?
okay, that's fine. I
Is
actually
anyone
don't
here,
s-
is Simon Randall or anyone representing the interests of 5302 Rising Sun Avenue? Anyone present?
I don't see him. We can wait and call it again
Yeah,
later.
we can call, let's call it in regular order. Okay,
fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Kelly, Jim Kelly?
Good afternoon, board members. This is for number 8, HA 2024, ending in 2529, 1801 South 58th Street. Dory Valdez doing business as 58th Street Food Market Inc. number 2. This was continued previously so that appellant could obtain an attorney. It came to my attention in the last week or so that appellant, in fact, did not obtain an attorney. And I'm frankly not sure if they're on the call here. So I just wanted to see if this could be dealt with ahead of time, if possible.
Okay, well, my record's indicating that Joseph Vaccaro is the attorney. Is Mr. Vaccaro present?
That was my understanding as well, Chairman. When I reached out to Mr. Vaccaro, he informed me that he is not, in fact.
Oh, he's on the screen,
this
Mr.
case.
Vaccaro. You can speak
Yes,
for
good
himself.
afternoon. Yes, I have not been retained by that client.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I'm just
All right.
here on 1601 West Nedrow, just waiting my turn.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Is anyone present representing the interests of 1801 South 58th Street? Anyone present? Anyone present? Okay, no one's responding in this instance. So what's your pleasure, Mr. Kelly?
Seeing no one present, the city would request a city affirm failure to appear.
Okay, Mr. Petty, what time do we have?
1:36 PM.
1:36 PM. We will poll the board regarding HA 2024-002529, 1801 South 58th Street, Drury Val.
Excuse me,
Yes.
have we confirmed service?
Oh, my apologies. I'm getting ahead of myself.
The appellant's listed 103 Carnegie Center, Suite 345, Princeton, New Jersey. Notice of this hearing was sent on December 10th of last year to that address.
All right, thank you. We were prepared to vote on HA 2024-002529, 1801 South 58th Street, Dury Valdez doing business as 58th Street Food Market, Inc., number 2, city affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed for non-appearance.
City affirmed for non.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think that concludes our preliminary matters. I know we have one matter that requires an interpreter, so I'm asking the administrator to call that one first.
Hearing appeal ending 2799, 1431 Vernon Road, M&F Supermarket Incorporated.
Okay,
Jeffrey Cullen, attorney for the city of Philadelphia for this matter.
okay. The interpreter present?
This is the interpreter speaking. My name is Stephen Aubin. Last name spelled Aubain. Interpreter ID YM288.
Okay, sir, would you raise your right hand so that you may be sworn? Do you swear to faithfully translate between Spanish and English to Spanish regarding this matter involving 1431 Vernon Road?
I do.
All right, thank you very much. Would you, sir, then, Mr. Would you read that in again and so the interpreter can repeat everything in Spanish?
Yes, sir. This is appeal ending 2799, 1431 Vernon Road.
Oh, but just give him a moment so he can
Así
catch up.
que este es el caso que termina en 2799. La dirección es 1431 Vernon Road.
M&F Supermarket Incorporated.
Y M&F es Supermercado Incorporado.
Edward McHugh Esquire, attorney.
Edward McHugh Esquire, que es el abogado.
Okay, thank you. Who's representing the interests of the appellant?
¿Y quién está representando los intereses del apelante?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, board members. Ed McHugh on behalf of M&F Supermarket Incorporated.
Thank you.
Representando es Ed McHugh, que está representando el supermercado M&F.
Okay, Mr. Cohen, is this your matter?
Yes, thank you, members of the board.
Okay, you have a witness?
¿Y hay testigos?
Yes, the city calls Jody Wilkins of the Health Department, or will call Jody Wilkins, the Health Department. We can have her sworn.
Y Jody
Ms.
Wilkins del
Wilkins.
Departamento de Salud y la van a jurar.
Ms. Wilkins, raise your right hand so that you may be sworn. Do you swear affirm the testimony you give will be the truth so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Y juró el juramento.
Okay, is the appellant present?
¿Y el apelante está presente?
Yes, he is present. Mr. Miguel Peralta Rodriguez it should be present, and I did see his name somewhere.
Okay, will he be a witness?
He will be a witness.
Okay, so I need to swear him in then. Okay, Mr. Peralta, please raise your right hand so that you may be sworn.
Señor Peralta, por favor, levante la mano derecha para que lo puedan jurar.
And please unmute your computer.
Y por favor, prenda el micrófono a la computadora.
Sir, do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today be the truth so help you God?
¿Usted jura que el testimonio que dará el día de hoy será la verdad bajo los ojos de Dios? I swear.
All right, thank you. Place your hand down.
¿Ya puede bajar la mano?
Okay, let's proceed.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
may I just address the board for a moment, if that's okay?
Yes.
Okay. I'm assuming that Mr. Cohen's calling Ms. Wilkins to testify as to the violations that took place at the premises. And if that's the case, I've reviewed the documentation that Mr. Cohen has provided in his exhibits, and the appellant would be willing to stipulate to those documents and the facts contained therein. I don't know if that helps the proceedings, or I don't want to take anything out of the hands of Mr. Cohen, but
Well, if we
I
could
know you
pause
have
for
a-
translation.
Yes.
Sorry.
Así que asumiendo, y esto es para hablarle a la Junta, asumiendo que está llamando a la señora Wilkins a testificar para hablar acerca de las violaciones que sucedieron en ese lugar, y repasando la documentación que fue puesta como anexo, el apelante pudiera responder a esos documentos.
Well, what might assist proceedings is the city's case is essentially there were 3 sets of CVNs, code violation notices, for either tobacco sale to minor or tobacco sale without checking ID.
Okay, Mr. Cohen.
Y estuvieron 3 de las violaciones de CVN que o fueron para vender tabaco sin permiso y vender tabaco a menores.
And these CVNs were all paid, which under the Philadelphia Code means that the violations therein are deemed admitted.
Y estos CVNs fueron pagados, que bajo el Código de Filadelfia, esto significa que fueron admitidos.
If that's, I mean, we could basically stipulate to that as the bare bone structure, if that would work.
Y podemos estipular que esa es la estructura de inicio.
Mr. McHugh, did that satisfy?
Mr. Chairman, that's acceptable to the appellant as far as the stipulated facts.
Okay.
Y eso es aceptable para el apelante acerca de los hechos.
So, Mr. Cohen, do you have any additional witnesses?
The only thing that I would add is that if you'll bear with me, I want to put this on screen.
Okay, just let the interpreter catch up with us.
Y así hay algo que quisiera añadir el señor Cohen, y él va a enseñarnos la pantalla.
Just that the denial of the renewal permit was sent to M&F Supermarket Inc. And basically that the stipulation that we just agreed to is for essentially this part of it down here, these highlighted dates and CVNs.
Que la negación de la renovación de el permiso de MF Supermercado Incorporado, y estipulando esta cuarta parte.
So stipulated, Mr. Chairman.
And Excellent. And then with that, the city would rest.
Y es estipulada y con eso la ciudad va a descansar.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. McHugh, this is your opportunity to put on your case.
Y ahora esta es la oportunidad del señor McHugh para dar su caso.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We would call to testify Miguel Peralta.
Así que vamos a llamar a Miguel Peralta para testificar.
Okay, sir, please proceed.
Y puede proceder.
So Mr. Peralta was sworn, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Y ya juraron al señor Peralta.
Sir, what is your position with M&F Supermarket Incorporated, please?
Señor, ¿cuál es su posición con M&F Supermercado?
Realmente yo compré o sea, la tienda se compró en enero del año 2024.
So the store was bought on January of 2024.
Y cuando yo hablé con la señora que me la vendió, ella me dijo que no había nada pendiente y bueno, yo le creí.
So whenever I spoke with the lady that sold it to me, she told me that there were not any pending matters, and I believed her.
Okay. So what is Mr. Peralta's status with M&F Supermarket Incorporated right now?
Así que, ¿cuál es el estado del señor Peralta con el supermercado M&F?
Bueno, ahora mismo estamos sin licencia de tabaco, por lo cual no estamos vendiendo tabaco.
So currently we are without a work license, so that's why we are not selling tobacco.
Y realmente, bueno, la tienda ha bajado más de un 50% de lo que son las ventas y me ha afectado mucho. Pues. Y realmente, si yo hubiese sabido que la tienda no tenía licencia de tabaco, pues realmente yo no la hubiese comprado.
So honestly, the profit of this business has gone down by 50%. And honestly, if I would have known that it didn't have a tobacco license, I would have not bought the store.
Mr. McHugh,
Okay.
you're going to need to restate
Yes.
because your witness isn't answering your question.
Correct. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So can you just ask Mr. Peralta to
Así que le van a rehacer la pregunta, señor, porque no la está contestando.
So can you just please ask Mr. Peralta just to answer the questions that are asked and please?
Así que solamente, señor, conteste la pregunta que le hacen.
Ok, porque me la haga, por favor, que me haga la pregunta.
All right, can you please repeat the question?
Is it correct that you are the owner, manager of M&F Supermarket Incorporated?
Y es cierto que usted es el dueño y gerente del supermercado M&F Incorporado.
Sí, señor.
Yes.
And you purchased the business in sometime in January of 2024, is that correct?
¿Compró el negocio en algún momento en enero de 2024?
Eso es correcto.
That's correct.
Okay. And what was the exact date that you would have purchased the business?
¿Cuál fue el día exacto
Actually-
que usted compró el negocio?
So if I could interject briefly, Mr. McHugh, do you intend on entering the commercial agreement of sale as an exhibit?
I would, yes, if that would.
Well,
Así que si quiere poner como evidencia en el anexo la venta de la propiedad, y contestó que sí.
Sorry, if you can get Mr. Peralta to lay the foundation, if there is foundation, I'll stipulate to it.
Oh, great.
Si
thank
puede dejar que el señor Peralta de fundación, yo puedo estipular a esa fundación.
And Mr. Peralta, was that purchase encompassed by a commercial stock sale agreement? Is that correct?
Y señor Peralta, esa compra fue hecha a través de un acuerdo de acciones comerciales.
Sí, señor.
Yes.
And under that agreement, you would have purchased 100% of the stock of M&F Supermarket Incorporated, correct?
Y bajo ese acuerdo, usted compró 100% de las acciones del supermercado M&F.
Eso es correcto.
That's correct.
Okay. And closing on that purchase took place on January 2nd of 2024, is that correct?
Y el cierre de esa compra fue en enero 2 del 2024. Correct.
Tell us about the operation, please. What type
Díganos,
of operation is it?
díganos acerca de esa operación y qué es lo que hacen.
Bueno, en enero 2 del 2024 se compró la tienda, que es un grocery store, y bueno, yo pagué mediante un préstamo al banco, yo compré la tienda y bueno, en eso estoy ahora, lo de
So I purchased the business on January 2nd of 2024, and I bought a grocery store through a bank loan.
Okay. Prior to making the purchase, did you conduct an assessment of the business?
Antes de hacer la compra, ¿usted hizo una evaluación del negocio?
Regularmente los hispanos, los dominicanos, cuando compramos una tienda, uno va y mira y observa todo el negocio y por error uno cree en lo que el otro le dice.
So regularly, as Hispanics and Dominicans, we go and check out the business itself, but unfortunately, I believe what was said to me.
And what was said to you relative to the business?
¿Y qué fue lo que se le dijo acerca del negocio que usted creyó?
Que todo estaba bien porque sabemos los dueños de bodega que si tienes 3 tickets pierdes la licencia y lo primero que uno le pregunta a quien vende una bodega o un grocery store es si tiene la licencia bien al día, si ha tomado tickets, le han dado tickets, pero
Permítame, so as property owners or as bodega owners, we know that to maintain good standing with our licenses, we are not allowed to have more than 3 tickets. So whenever I asked the owner if everything was valid with the license, they said everything was fine.
entonces,
Did you have to obtain a mortgage in order to purchase the stock of the company?
City objects. That's not relevant to this proceeding.
Así que si usted tuvo que obtener una hipoteca para poder comprar las acciones y la ciudad objeto.
The objection is sustained.
Así que sostenieron esa objeción.
Mr. Peralto, from the time of January 2024 through May of 2024, when you would have received the revocation letter, did you sell tobacco products?
Desde el periodo de tiempo de enero de 2024 hasta mayo de 2024 que usted recibió la carta de revocación, ¿usted hizo ventas de tabaco?
sí, porque yo entendía que tenía la licencia al día. Claro que sí, yo lo hice por desconocimiento.
Yes, because what I understood is that my license was up to date, and that's why I did it, because that was my understanding.
Can you tell the board members what, if any, safeguards you had in place to prevent the sale of tobacco products to underage patrons?
The city is going to object just because that might be getting too in the weeds. I mean, we're talking about the denial of a retailer permit because of established stipulated CVNs. We're not really going over the circumstances that led to a specific instance of sale of tobacco.
Así que lo primero o la pregunta primera fue si le puede decir a la Junta si había algo que usted hizo para protegerse y impedir las ventas de productos de tabaco a menores de 18 años. Y hubo una objeción de la ciudad porque este es un caso de hablar acerca de los eventos y no realmente hablar de ese tipo de circunstancia.
Mr. Mayhew, it appears to me that the board that, in fact, you've stipulated all these underlying facts, so you sort of replow on the same ground. So I'm going to sustain the objection.
Así que de parte de la Junta, señor McHugh, parece que ya usted había hablado acerca de estas estipulaciones, así que nosotros vamos a aguantar esta objeción.
If I just may be heard on that objection, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Y si me pudieran escuchar en esa objeción.
So, Mr. Chairman, obviously, Mr. Peralta does not have any working knowledge or any actually specific knowledge of the measures that may have been in place during the time that these violations took place. And I understand it was a stock purchase agreement, and he took over control and management of an existing entity, that entity being a license holder.
Oh, wait,
Allow me.
Mr. McHugh, you got to get your interpreter to catch up with you.
Yep, I'm stopping. Yep.
Así que quería comentar que el señor no tenía conocimiento acerca de las medidas que estaban en lugar para ese entonces cuando sucedió la violación, debido a que la venta fue a través de acciones.
What we would like the board to know and understand, and what we believe is relevant, is what measures were in place at the time he took over management and control of the business, that being January 2nd to the revocation date.
Así que lo que quería señalar era acerca de las medidas que tomó desde enero, que fue la fecha de compra, hasta el día de la revocación.
Well, and Mr. Cohen, you may be able to speak to this. The issue is that most of those CVNs was prior to his purchase date, correct?
I'll wait for the translation.
Así que el problema, y el señor Cohen puede hablar acerca de esto, es que la mayoría de los CVNs fueron antes de la fecha de compra.
So 3 of them were before the purchase. 2 of them were after. Well, 2 that occurred on the same date, February 4th of 2023. Oh, sorry, February, never mind. All of them then were prior to the purchase.
Okay.
I was misreading the numbers.
Así que si todas fueron antes, las 5 fueron antes de la fecha de compra, que fue en febrero 4.
Okay.
But
So
the-
essentially, Mr. McHugh, your client can't have it both ways. I mean, he did a stock purchase because that gave him grandfathered opportunity for all the existing permits. But that means he also inherits all of the violations that weren't cleared before the purchase.
Así que esencialmente el dueño no lo puede tener de ambas maneras, porque al hacer la compra a través de acciones, él también se le pasan las violaciones de permiso.
Any additional questions?
Yes,
Y preguntas adicionales.
so Mr. Peralta, do you have another grocery store?
Señor Peralta, ¿usted tiene otro supermercado?
Sí, señor.
Yes.
And at that grocery store, do you have a retail tobacco license?
The
Y en
city would
esa
object as to relevance.
En ese otro supermercado, usted tiene una licencia de venta de tabacos y la ciudad puso oposición a esa pregunta. Go ahead.
Mr. McHugh, what is the relevance of the other operation?
Y señor McHugh, ¿cuál es la relevancia de el otro supermercado?
Mr. Chairman, I think the relevance is that Mr. Peralta has been a license holder for a retail tobacco license at another location during the time of these violations and has had all the proper safeguards in place to prevent these kind of violations from taking place.
Y la relevancia, miembro de la Junta, es que el señor Peralta tiene una licencia para venta de tabaco en su otro supermercado, y él tiene las diferentes protecciones en lugar para prevenir la venta de tabaco a menores.
Mr. McHugh, but given the other operation is not subject to today's hearing, therefore it's not relevant. And so assuming he does everything correctly at the other store, that's fine. But unfortunately for him, there's a record of misdeeds at the location we're discussing today. So that's the only matter that we really can decide upon is whether those are valid violations and whether or not that permit should be, that tobacco sales license should be granted.
Así que, señor McHugh, acerca de la otra operación y el otro negocio, eso no tiene que ver con la audiencia del día de hoy, por eso dijimos que es irrelevante. Y aunque él está haciendo esas otras cosas en la otra tienda, desafortunadamente, no se trata de eso en este caso. Así que en este caso estamos hablando acerca de si sí o no las violaciones de permiso son válidas para este supermercado corriente.
Mr. Chairman, we were hoping that the board would consider the measures that Mr. Peralta has in place and would have in place relative to the prevention of sale of tobacco products to youthful patrons, and we were hoping to be able to present that evidence to you today for to support our argument to reinstate the license.
Así que junto a nosotros queríamos que ustedes consideraran la medida que el señor Peralta había tomado para la prevención de venta de productos de tabaco a menores, y que con esa evidencia pudiera apoyar el argumento de poder reinstalar la licencia.
Mr. Cohen, any response before I make a ruling on this?
Well, actually, just really only that
Yeah.
I don't believe at this point the city has any cross-examination, so we could potentially move to closing arguments.
Así que le preguntaron al señor Cohen si él tenía alguna otra pregunta que hacer, y como él respondió que ahora mismo no tienen examinaciones de cruce, pudieran entonces ir para las declaraciones de cierre.
Mr. McHugh, I'm perfectly fine with you proceeding to closing. Make that party, incorporating that in your closing argument, if you like.
Así que podemos movernos entonces para esas declaraciones de cierre, y el señor McHugh lo puede incluir en su declaración de cierre de esos hechos.
¿Puedo decir algo?
Am I allowed to say something?
Sir, you're being represented by a competent attorney. If the two of you need an opportunity to speak privately, please do that. We can permit you to do that, but you need to follow the directions of your attorney.
Okay.
Así que, señor, usted está siendo representado por un abogado, así que si ustedes necesitan una oportunidad para hablar privadamente, lo pueden hacer, pero ahora mismo está siendo representado.
Mr. McHugh, do you need a breakout room?
Señor McHugh, ¿necesita un momento para hablar con él?
Yes, maybe I do, Mr. Chairman. I would appreciate that opportunity.
Okay,
Sí,
we're going
aprecio esa
to
oportunidad.
we're going to take a short recess. It's 2:02 p.m. We will give you to 2:07, and we'll return. We'll go off the record. Mr. McHugh, you were prepared to give closing?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board.
Así que, señor
okay,
McHugh,
Mr. McHugh, unfortunately, sorry for breaking in on you, but just to remind everyone, both you and Mr. Cohen, that please give them in short snippets so that the interpreter can keep up with you.
y solamente para un recordatorio, o recordarle a todos que hablen en frases cortas para dejar que el intérprete pueda hablar.
So, Mr. Chairman, before I rest, can I just get a clarification?
Y señor
Yes.
De la Junta, si puedo decir algo antes de descansar.
Yes.
Relative to Mr. Peralta's testimony that we are not going, the chair is not going to permit him to testify as to measures generally he would have in place relative to the prevention of tobacco sales to minors.
Y acerca de permitir al señor Peralta poder testificar acerca de las medidas que tienen lugar para prevenir la venta de menores de 18 años del tabaco.
The only relevant testimony would be to procedures in place at the time that the CVNs were issued.
Así que el único testimonio relevante es acerca de los procedimientos que están en lugar para cuando las violaciones de CVN fueron dadas.
And Mr. Chair, the same goes for his other location, is that correct?
That is, oh,
Líder de la Junta, lo mismo va para la otra ubicación.
yeah, his second location is not part of this hearing, so it's not relevant.
Así que la segunda ubicación no es parte de esta audiencia, así que no es relevante.
So with that, the appellant would rest.
Y con eso el apelante descansaría.
All right, thank you. Any final argument, Mr. McHugh, before we move to the city?
¿Y algún otro argumento, señor McHugh, antes de proceder con la ciudad?
Well, yes, briefly, Mr. Chair, and thank you, members of the board. The appellant would just ask that you reconsider the denial of the renewal permit.
Y brevemente, miembros de la Junta, el apelante quiere que reconsideren la negación del permiso.
And that these violations took place under another owner, another manager of the licensed business.
Y que estas violaciones sucedieron bajo otro dueño de este negocio.
Mr. Peralta does understand that it is the same license holder.
El señor Peralta entiende que es el mismo dueño de la licencia.
However, he would ask that you acknowledge that it was currently under different management. And
Pero
he
como
has,
quiero, go ahead.
he has the safeguards in place to prevent these violations from taking place in the future.
Y quiere que reconozcan que aunque esto sucedió bajo otro gerente, él tiene las medidas de seguridad puestas para prevenir que esto suceda.
The one final point that Mr. Peralta wanted to bring up is that he would never have, or he would have reconsidered strongly the purchase of this business.
El último punto que el señor Peralta quería explicar es que si él hubiera sabido acerca de estas violaciones, él hubiera reconsiderado fuertemente la compra.
Had he known that the tobacco license was at risk of revocation.
Entendiendo que la licencia de tabaco estaba en riesgo de ser quitada.
And that there was no notice that he received from the city relative to the status of the license other than the revocation that took place in May of 2024.
Y que no había recibido una nota de la ciudad acerca de estas violaciones hasta que recibió la revocación en mayo de 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Gracias, líder de la Junta.
Mr. Cohen?
Thank you, members of the board.
Y gracias, miembros de la Junta.
I do feel bad for Mr. Peralta because he clearly got scammed by the previous owner.
Y me siento mal por el señor Peralta porque claramente fue estafado por el dueño previo.
Because when he bought this business, he bought the business with 3 violations already locked and loaded. And it was just a matter of time before the city eventually caught up, had the application, and denied it for renewal.
Y porque él compró esta propiedad o este negocio con ya 3 violaciones puestas y era el poco tiempo ya tan cuando él quería renovar que la ciudad se lo negó.
But let's be clear about what Mr. Peralta is asking of the board here.
Y vamos a ser claros acerca de lo que está pidiendo el señor Peralta.
So normally, as the board knows, there is a wait list for getting a new tobacco retailer permit in almost every district of the city.
Y como ustedes saben, y como sabe el señor Peralta, hay una línea de espera para los que quieren obtener una licencia de venta de tabaco en la ciudad.
So if Mr. Peralta, instead of buying the business entity, had just taken over the store and created a new entity, he would be put at the bottom of that wait list.
Si el señor Peralta solamente hubiera comprado el negocio y lo hubiera puesto bajo su propio nombre, él estuviera entonces en la parte de abajo de esa lista de esperas.
But instead, what he is asking this board to do is essentially jump the wait list. And of course, that's not fair to everyone else who is on the wait list waiting for their turn.
Pero en vez, él quiere pedirle a la Junta brincar su lugar en la lista de espera, y eso no es justo para las demás personas que están esperando para recibir esa misma licencia.
The resolution of this matter under the law is that the entity that caused these bad things to happen will receive the consequences of these bad things.
Y la resolución a base de la ley es que la entidad que causó que estas malas cosas sucedan debería de recibir el juicio por lo que hicieron.
And by stepping into the shoes of this entity, Mr. Peralta is unfortunately the bearer of those consequences.
Y al ponerse los zapatos de esta entidad, ahora el señor Peralta recibe las consecuencias de esta entidad.
And of course, the city has no opinion on any claims Mr. Peralta can bring against the previous owner. That would be between Mr. Peralta and his attorney.
Y claro, la ciudad no tiene opinión acerca de los reclamos entre él y el dueño previo. Eso sería una discusión entre él y su abogado.
Thank you kindly, members of the board.
Gracias a los miembros de la Junta.
Thank you. The board will now be polled and vote on the following matter, HA-2024-002799, 1431 Vernon Road, M&F Supermarket, Inc. City affirmed.
City affirmed.
City affirmed.
City affirmed.
Thank you very much. The witnesses are excused. Mr. McHugh, as you're aware, you have every right to appeal our decision to the Court of Common Pleas. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, members, and thank you, Mr. McHugh, for your courtesies.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen.
And this is the interpreter speaking. Do you require further interpretation?
No, I don't believe that we do. So that have you excused. Thank you very much for your service.
All right, thank you for using the service interpreter
Mr. Chairman,
disconnecting.
Did the interpreter convey the city affirm decision?
And the interpreter can relay the information, así que el voto para el caso HA 2024-002799 para la calle 1431 Vernon Street y para el negocio de M&F Incorporado, la ciudad afirma.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for using the
assume
service.
did he fully understands what just happened, Mr. McHugh?
Yes, he does, Judge.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Okay,
Okay, have a good afternoon.
thank you.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so let's call our next matter. Let's go to the top of the list, I guess.
Yes, sir. That's item number 3, hearing appeal ending 1421-5020 West Thompson Street, Darlene McBride.
Okay, who's representing the city in this matter?
That would be me. Good afternoon, board members. This is Melanie Nezich for the city of Philadelphia.
Good afternoon, Ms. Darlene McBride. Are you present?
Yes, sir, Chairman, I'm present.
Okay, thank you. Would
You're
you raise
welcome.
your right hand, ma'am, so that you may be sworn? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today be the truth so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Nezich, do
You're
you have a
welcome.
witness today?
Yes, Chair. The city would like to call Aaron Williams to testify.
Aaron Williams, okay. If you'd unmute, Aaron, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today be the truth so help you God?
Yes.
All right, thank you. You can place your hand down. Okay, Ms. Nezich, please proceed.
To contextualize everyone, although the water department has performed an extensive and varied amount of inspections and work orders over the last few years at the property located at 5020 West Thompson Street, owned by the petitioner, Ms. McBride, the sole issue before the board today is whether or not the property has a defective lateral and therefore was noticed correctly. it is the city's position that the sewer lateral at 5020 West Thompson Street is defective. And the city, as I mentioned, would like to call Ms. Erin Williams to testify.
Okay.
And if I may, with the board's indulgence, share my screen at this time.
Yes.
Thank you. Just a moment. Okay. Is that visible?
Not yet. Yes.
Okay, good. All right, good afternoon, Ms. Williams.
Hi.
Could you, you already stated your name. Could you state your title for the record?
Sure. Chief Engineer for the Philadelphia Water Department's collector systems.
All right, and how long have you been with the Philadelphia Water Department?
16 years.
Okay, thank you. So taking a look at what's marked as City Exhibit 3, just initially, it's fair to say that you're familiar with the property and the situation at 5020 Thompson?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and were you able to review the record of the
Yes.
Water Department's investigation into the property?
Yes.
And these records are kept in the regular departmental practice of the Water Department?
Yep. In our work order management database, CityWorks, and we also have another database that records our CCTV inspections.
Thank you. So turning to this on the screen here, this is the notice of defect. Could you just read out the date and what the notice is for?
Sure. The date of notice is 11/1/22, and the notice is for a defective lateral and vent pipe located at 5020 West Thompson Street.
And so this was back in 2022, but the city was able to make a reinspection recently on January 11th of this year.
Yes, we did do a reinspection, and this time we used a CCTV camera placed within the sewer to validate the initial results that the customer received back in 2022.
Okay. I'm going to scroll down to those results that you were referring to. I can make them a little bit bigger. This is the other database you were speaking about, GraniteNet, right?
Correct.
And this database that's regularly kept, it's used to store videos and analysis from those CCTV inspections that you mentioned.
Yes.
And this one is associated with the address of 5020 Thompson?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to keep scrolling and just show a closer photo, a still photo of the CCTV inspection. What are we looking at here?
So the opening, we're looking at the wall of the sewer, and the hole or the opening that is visible with the green dye coming out is the lateral connection into the sewer from 5020 West Thompson Street. So what we did is on 11125, we placed dye into the fresh air inlet or vent and the sidewalk in front of the property, and it shows coming through the lateral into the sewer, which is a good thing, which means that the lateral is not blocked or clogged, but it also came through the neighboring lateral to the left, and that's a little bit more visible in the other picture. And so that is kind of definitive proof that there is an opening, a crack, an open joint within this lateral 5020s that it's allowing water and dye to escape to get into the neighboring lateral. That also means that the neighboring lateral is defective as well. And I do want to point out that this corroborates or validates what our sewer maintenance inspector saw when he physically went into the sewer, walked it up to this point and looked, and the defect that he created the notice for back in 2022 was for visibly shifted joints, which you can see in this image here.
Right. Let's turn to, if it's all right with the board, let's turn to a short video of that reinspection. May I?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. This is like 40 seconds long. But Erin, if you want to narrate anything that you're seeing of note in this video, please go right ahead.
Sure.
Oh, just put the date on the record, please. The date and time.
Yes, sir. I'm showing a video from the reinspection of 5020 West Thompson. This was dated 1/11/2025, 10:04 a.m. The distance is 40.3 feet, and we're starting over. Do you need any more information on the record, sir?
That should be fine.
Okay, all right. We're starting it right now, and I'm just going to ask Ms. Williams to tell us what we are looking
Sure.
at here when
Yep.
it's appropriate.
Yeah, so at this point in time, we've driven our CCTV camera in front of the property's lateral. That distance, we enter the camera into the sewer through a manhole in the street. Somebody on the sidewalk has put water and green dye into 5020's FAI, which is connected. It's the vertical stack that then connects into the lateral. It's coming through, as you can see, but it's also coming through the lateral to the left. So that means that water, and that's not supposed to happen. We're not supposed to see water coming out of both. We're supposed to just see water coming out of one. But when you see water go from one lateral to the next, that is indicative of a defect, which again is corroborating the sewer maintenance inspector's original visual ID of a defect back in 2022.
Right, thank you. So during this investigation, the inspectors were able to isolate the particular lateral that came out from the particular property through this dye test.
Yes.
As you mentioned, what we saw was indicative of the defect. In your estimation, was this notice for a defective lateral correctly issued?
Yes, this is common practice for the water department to make these types of observations and issue notices to customers to compel repair.
And just as a final note, really quickly, the property has been on the department's radar for some time, correct?
Yes.
There have been approximately, according to your review of the record, 34 visits by at least 4 different PWD units in the last few years.
Yes, correct.
And in reviewing the multitude of investigation reports, did you come to a conclusion or at least an elimination about the source of the issues and the leaks complained of?
We were able to determine that Philadelphia Water Department infrastructure was not related to the issues that the customer was experiencing with inside her home.
Right. And it just happened to be that during one of the investigations, a sewer
Yes.
maintenance investigation, the defective lateral was noticed.
Yeah, and this does happen from time to time. We are sent out and asked to explore one particular issue, but we often will see something else. And when it's an issue like this, we are obligated to notify the customer because it could lead to something much worse in the future. And it's a defect, right? So it does need to be repaired.
Right. It is a serious defect. If it remains unmitigated or unrepaired, what are some of the consequences of this?
You could have sewage escaping into the ground, which is an unsanitary condition, and it could eventually lead to a cave-in, depression, or sinkhole in the street, which is often what we see with defective laterals.
Right. Thank you so much, Ms. Williams. I have no further questions at the time.
Okay, ma'am, do you have any questions of the engineer from the water department?
Yes, sir, Chairman, I do.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Ms. Williams.
Hello.
My first question is, are you aware that in 2019, there was a project that went on with the water department to replace my entire block's water and sewer line?
Yes.
Okay. So in 2019, that water sewer line was replaced, and in doing so, the water department also sent letters out to neighbors that if they had any asbestos in their water line or in the pipe, that they would replace it at no cost. Are you aware of that?
Asbestos, or was
I'm sorry,
lead?
not asbestos, lead. I'm sorry, not asbestos, lead.
Yes.
Okay, so it was determined at that point by the water department when they came out that there was a piece of my pipe that had lead in it. They replaced that portion. That portion led out from my basement out into the street where the connection met the street that met the water's department line. that was replaced. At the time, the inspector on site, Dan, don't recall his last name, came into the property and looked. They had an independent contractor do this work. He came in and looked. He said the line wasn't low enough. Therefore, at that point, Dan instructed. I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah, you testifying now. We just need you to ask questions, and then at a
Okay,
later
sorry.
time, you can put your case on. But
okay,
let's restrict it to short questions that she can answer.
Okay. So are you aware that if there was lead found, that those pipes would be replaced?
Yes, I'm aware of that program and like the option that we give to customers. Yes.
Okay. And does it show in that record that a portion of that pipe was replaced in my home?
I haven't seen that record myself. I did see the photographs that you submitted, which does look like a new line. And I know that that program exists, but I don't work for our construction division, so I don't have those records myself.
But also, ma'am, what we're here today, though, is a violation for the vent pipe and the waste line, not the water supply line.
Thank you, Mr. Woodson. I was going to kindly place an objection about the relevance. We are speaking about the sewer lateral today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not the water supply line. The water supply line is where the lead pipe was an issue, but this is not part of that.
Chairman, the sewer line was replaced as well, and in
Okay, do
doing
you have
so.
let's do this though. Let's do this. Do you have any more questions for Ms. Williams regarding that? And then you can put on your case. You can put all the evidence on that you have.
Okay, yes, Ms. Williams, in doing that, replacing the sewer line, are you aware that the entire street, the sidewalk, as well as the asphalt street was completely torn up for like a
Yes.
9-month period? It was like a
Yeah,
9-month period.
it's a very large sewer in your street. Yeah, so everything had to be excavated. And I do just want to clarify for the record too, what we replaced as part of our capital improvement project is we reconstructed the sewer, and then we reconstructed the lateral and the curb trap and fresh air inlet, that vertical stack. And then we reconnect to what's known as your main house drain, which comes out from your basement and connects into the backside of the trap. So we did not touch that on the sewer plumbing side, but we did reconstruct a new lateral, curb, trap, and what's known as a fresh air inlet.
So you're saying that you did reconstruct a new lateral and trap?
Yes.
Okay. And are you aware that when I received this notice of defect, that there were also a notice of defect given to the two houses on either side of me, a 5018 and 5022 as well?
Yes.
And I would submit to you that those were the only 3 houses
Okay,
that they looked at.
ma'am, you have to ask a question, okay?
I'm sorry.
And then
That
you
would
can submit your case. After you've asked all the questions and crossed, then you can put your case on.
Okay, so again, that lateral and trap were reconstructed at that time.
For those two properties, yes, they should have been. I think the entire block received all new laterals and traps.
Okay, that's all I have, all the questions I have, Chairman.
All right, thank you. Okay, any additional witnesses, Ms. Nesich?
No, thank you, Chairman.
Okay, all right. Now, ma'am, this is your opportunity to put your case on. So tell us the facts as you understand them and the basis of your appeal.
Okay, so Chairman, the facts as I understand them is there was a water sewer line replacement. It was a large project, and I'm told that the project on my block actually took longer than they expected. It was a 9-month project. Once they got down there, they found out they had to replace a lot more than they thought. I submitted exhibits to the board on Monday. Those exhibits, if you'd like me to see my screen, I can, or I could just tell you which exhibits they are.
Ma'am, we lost your audio for a minute, so
I'm
you would
sorry.
like to repeat, would you repeat that, please?
Yes, sir. The project was to replace the water and sewer line on my block, my entire block. And the project actually took longer than the water department expected, because once they got down there was more extensive damage that they initiated, and they had to replace more. And in doing so, the block was down for probably approximately 9 months.
Mhm.
And at that point, the entire sidewalk as well as the asphalt street were all torn up, completely torn up, and replaced with huge. I sent pictures and exhibits in on Monday to the board. Would you like for me
Okay,
to
but
share my?
those matters aren't in dispute, though. The city acknowledged that they did the whole work. That's not in dispute. The
Okay,
issue is
so
whether or not you have a defective lateral.
what I'm proposing to the board is, in doing so, in tearing up the street and tearing up the sidewalk, what I received from the city's attorney is, every time they came out to my property, they were called out to my property because I called them out to my property. I called them every month, several times. I wrote letters to the Commissioner Heyman, but what I'm proposing is doing that work cracked my lateral and shifted the lateral, because they had to literally send a torpedo through the ground where they tore up in front of my house. I sent pictures of that. They had to tear it up, send a torpedo through. I don't know if any of you know what a torpedo is, but it's equipment that actually goes through the ground, and it looks like a rocket, and it tears up the dirt and it goes through. They had to send a torpedo through to put this piping in. In doing so, what I'm proposing is that at 5020, 5018, and 5022, all of our laterals are cracked because of that work that was done during that time. My lateral was not cracked. We did not have problems. I did not have problems before that work took place. The only reason why I believe they did that, they got tired of me calling them for an issue in my basement. Finally, one department came out and she said, the inspector that came out, she said, the lateral's broken. However, the inspector that was on site saw that there was a problem in my basement and was supposed to have the independent contractor come out to fix it, and they never did. They never fixed it.
Do you have any evidence of that?
I have evidence. My evidence would be in the supervisor, Anthony Perkins, has retired from the water department. Since then,
is he here today prepared to testify?
Mr. Perkins, I believe, is retired. I don't know where he
okay.
is.
So you don't really have any.
That's my understanding with me calling.
No, you listen to my question. You don't have any firsthand information, either a written statement from him or photographs or anything else that we could sort of look at today?
No, sir, I do not.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
That would be it. That them fixing the
Okay.
block
We probably,
and all. I'm sorry.
okay. We may have a few questions for you.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions? Do you have any cross-examination, Ms. Nesich?
I have a question, Mr. Chair, for.
Okay, let's see if Ms. Nesich have any cross. You have any cross, Ms. Nesich?
Yes, Chair, thank you. Just one quick question. Good afternoon again, Ms. McBride.
Good afternoon.
So I was able to view your evidence. Thank you for sending it in. Do you remember what date the work was performed on your block? Like what year?
It was April of 2019.
2019.
Correct.
And the notice that you received for the lateral was?
The notice was in 2022.
2022. Okay. Did you happen to file a claim with the city of Philadelphia after you received the notice?
I'm sorry, what kind of claim?
A claim of fault, like a claim for remuneration for, destruction of your
I
lateral.
did not, because I was in contact at that point with Commissioner Heyman's office. And his administrators were working with him and me as well. I also spoke with the deputy commissioner, which is Deborah Schwartz. And Deborah Schwartz has since retired. She was aware of the situation as well, and she has since retired. So I've been going back and forth with a lot of people that are retired. I have been dealing with this issue since 2019. And they issued the notice of defect in 2022 because of my numerous letters and my numerous
understand. Thank
calls
you.
to resolve this issue.
Okay.
Thank you. No further questions. Thank you.
Anything else, Ms. Nessich?
I suppose, are you ready for a closing remark from the
Oh,
city?
no,
sir?
not yet. We have
Okay.
a few questions for the appellant. Anyone else?
You have a question?
Yeah.
I have a question for Ms. Williams from the Water Department. Ms. Williams, you testified that the city went out there 34 times for a visit. Was those visits pertaining to 5022 West Thompson residential only, or it was in conjunction with some of the construction work taking place there?
I believe this would all be related to the work or the damages that the customer was bringing to our attention. The work related to the construction, the new construction of the water and sewer mains in the street is handled by a different division. So I believe our attorneys, the 34 work orders that she's speaking to would be for investigative work that we did after we started receiving the complaints from Ms. McBride.
So those visits took place after the project from the Water Department was completed, correct?
I'd have to review the record again, but I believe so. Looking for it.
Would you like me to pull it up on the screen?
Yeah, that'd be helpful, and I can just look at the dates.
Is that all right if I share my screen once again?
Yes, please.
Okay. Just a minute. Is the first set of dates. It goes in reverse numerical order. So here are the earliest dates in the City Works report.
I don't
Oh,
see
sorry.
it. Oh, there it goes.
Can you see it now? Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, we're getting there. Okay, so 2021. So you're saying those are the earliest dates there?
That we have on record.
Yes, perfect. Okay, so then yes, I can confirm that.
Okay, does that respond to your question?
It does, because it basically deals with the water in the cellar of the particular property. And do we know what the cause of that water was from?
We have not been able to make a determination as to the cause. What we've been able to determine definitively is that we did not find a leak on the water main in the street, nor did we detect a leak on Miss McBride's service or any of the adjacent water services. That's on the drinking water side. And then on the sewer side, we did not find any issue such as a clogged sewer or a choked sewer that will cause a sewage to back up into a basement. And nor did we find any choked or clogged laterals, which again would cause sewage to back up into a basement.
Could you briefly describe the work that the water department did out at that location on the city street?
So when we say work, can you clarify, because there's
Well,
there's
the
two
work that
things.
was not done at the property, 5020 West Thompson. You stated
So
there
you're
was a
talking about
project
the
taking
work that we
place
did
up-
in 2019?
Yes, can you briefly describe what
Sure.
work was being
Yep.
done there?
So what we did is we reconstructed the sewer main in the street. I believe I can look at our drawings for it here. We basically replaced the old sewer, the original sewer that was built when this neighborhood was developed, probably in the 1800s, and replaced it with a 78-inch reinforced concrete pipe sewer. And then on the water main side, we constructed an 8-inch ductile iron water main to replace what was likely an old cast iron water main, because we usually built a lot of our original mains with cast iron.
So was the water shut off in the 5000 block of West Thompson at
Uh,
periods of times during the construction? to do
It likely
pipeline?
would have been. I believe that they need to do that in order to make the connections. It's like as a brief way of making sure we're not flooding the street. But again,
And
that's
we're
not,
talk-
I'm not involved in that work. So I
you're
don't
talking
want to
about-
speculate, but I believe that they need to do that.
So we're talking about pipelines the water department replaced that were at least 100 years old, correct?
And that's part of our capital improvement program. We invest heavily in the reconstruction of water and sewer mains throughout the city every year.
And we're trying to connect a modern residential home pipeline and water line connection into an old system, or now we're putting it into a new piping system, correct?
Can you repeat that?
The connection between household 5020 and all the other properties will now be connected back into the new line?
Yeah, so typically what we do, like the point of custody is typically in the footway, right? So we build the sewer. Well, it depends on the project, but I'll speak for the water main. So we construct the new water main, and we construct a portion of the service that comes to the curb stop, which is the valve that's in the footway, and then reconnect the existing line coming from the household to that curb stop. That's typical process for water main reconstruction. For sewers, we either reconnect the lateral at the limit of excavation of that sewer, or we reconstruct the lateral in full all the way up to the curb trap and FAI, and then reconnect the main drain coming into the backside of that FAI. It's all project contingent.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. No further questions.
Anyone else? Yes, please.
So I'd like to ask a few questions of Ms. McBride. Ms. McBride, how soon after the lateral was replaced by the water department did you first report a problem to the water department?
Immediately. That next day, couple days after, I told the inspector, there was an inspector on site every day of the project. His name was Dan. I don't recall his last name. I spoke with Dan as well as Mario. Mario was the foreman with JP Construction Company that did the work, and also with Chico, who was a plumber, independent plumber, who was on site. I let Dan know that my wall was wet and that there was an issue somewhere. I don't know where. I didn't know at that point, or I still don't know if it's the lateral, but I let them know that there was a problem. Dan came into my home. He said, yes, I see a problem. It persisted. No one got back to me. I kept calling. Finally, Dan got Mr. Perkins out, which was his supervisor. Mr. Perkins told Dan, I hear what you're saying. Get the contractor, the construction company back out and fix it.
Okay.
That's what he told them, and I didn't hear anything else from them.
Okay.
For
So
2
you're
years
telling-
until
excuse me,
2022.
Excuse me. You've answered
I'm
that
sorry.
question. I just want to be clear. You are saying that immediately after work was concluded by the water department, you then observed dampness in the wall of your home.
Correct.
Am I accurate in what you have told us?
Yes, ma'am, correct.
And then subsequent to that, how many other times did you contact the water department concerning a problem in your home after this initial contact? How often
After
did you
the
reach out?
after the work was completed,
Yes.
I reached out almost weekly.
Thank you.
And
Thank you. So did you have a problem with backup from the sewer into your home? Was that what was in your house?
at one point, it seemed like it was, but they came back out and they tested and they said it was not sewage. However, there is a sewage smell. If that makes
Okay,
sense,
let
fumes.
me ask you more directly. Did you observe sewage in your basement following completion of the work by the water department?
I did not.
Okay. Did you, after you observe these problems, take steps to hire an independent plumber to take a look at the work that was done and address your concerns?
I did.
And what was the name of that company? Do you know?
It was. I don't recall, but it was in August of 22 that I had them come out.
So this is three years after the work was done, you've decided to get an independent plumber? Not sooner?
Yes, ma'am, because as I said, I was in constant weekly with sending calls and emails to Commissioner Hayman's office.
And what was the result of your independent plumber's assessment of the situation?
He found that there was no problem at my home. And he said that it looked like there was cement that had been poured down in that lateral, in that track, in that lateral. He said it looked like he put a camera down, a scope, and Exhibit B from my exhibit shows that it says that it looks like it was cement that was left in there when the work from the city had been done, when the water department did the work. Looks like it had been clogged with that, he said.
And had there been any other work on the pipes at your home between 2019 and 22 when you got the independent assessment? Had there been any other work performed there by the water department?
No, not to my home, no.
Thank you very much.
Ms. McBride, the question I will have, the plumber, did you have the violation notice at the time that the plumber you hired came to your house?
At the time the plumber came out, no, I was trying to determine why my wall was wet.
Okay, so he was dealing with a different issue. Yeah, he was dealing with a different issue. Okay,
But he
so have you?
also went out in the front and
Understood
checked the
that.
lateral and all of that.
Okay, but let me ask you this. Have you, since receiving that violation notice, have you had a plumber come out and determine whether that violation notice was accurate or not?
No, sir, I haven't. I'm
Okay.
sorry. No, I haven't.
In your conversations with the commissioner's office, what was the commitment that the commissioner's office made to you?
Every time I called, it was almost a new person, and I sent the package that I sent to you. I sent several packages and pictures over, and they said they would speak to the commissioner. The commissioner was aware of it, and then another department would come out. Several departments came out. Chairman, I have asked that they send out the
But-
engineer that was on the
Okay, but
case
no,
that
what
time.
I'm trying to get to was, did the commissioner's office make a particular commitment to you to solve whatever you viewed as the problem?
They did not. They kept saying that their response to that was to send people out to do other investigations, different departments out to do different investigations.
Did you get a final result, what those investigations determined?
Yes, sir. I don't know if it says a broken lateral, defective lateral, and maybe a shifted lateral. One said on 11/1, the 22 was a shifted lateral.
Okay, those are violation notices, correct?
No, sir, that's the
Is that a
report
letter?
from
Okay.
the water department.
And so that document that you're reading confirms what was in the violation notice?
Well, that's what the water department says, yes.
Yes, yeah,
What the water department determines.
okay. Okay,
But
Okay, so in your appeal,
may I speak? I'm sorry.
well, let me get this additional
Mhm.
question out. So your appeal is that you acknowledge there's a problem, that you believe everyone agrees there's a problem, but the issue is how it should be repaired. And is it your argument that the city created the problem? Okay, and so
Yes,
the
sir,
issue
that's my
then
argument.
becomes, and with Ms. Ness's raised, did you file a formal complaint with the risk management area with the water department to force some action?
Honestly, Chairman, I have been dealing with this since 2019 and going back and forth with the commissioner's office and them telling me they're going to investigate it. They'll get back to me. They'll investigate it. They'll get back to me. In the process, they turned my water off 3 times because the lateral was broken.
Okay, but see,
in that process.
that's good information, but it's not answering my question. So
But
I'm
no,
just trying.
sir, I have not, because I was dealing with the commissioner's office and I didn't even know to file a complaint with, I didn't even know of a risk management.
Okay,
I did tell them that I was going to eventually file a formal complaint against them for not finding out what this was and to fix it. And then in 22, they gave me the notice of the defective lateral.
Okay.
But before then, I told them I would file a formal complaint.
okay. Anyone else have?
I have a question too.
Yeah.
Good.
I'd like to pose a question to Ms. Williams. Ms. Williams, as an engineer, what is your professional opinion as to what would cause a lateral, a brand-new lateral, to shift in a period of maybe 1 or 2 years after being installed as part of a sewer renovation? What would cause the lateral to shift and or crack?
There's a variety of reasons that could happen. Could have been poor compaction when the contractor backfilled the street. I mean, typically, if you think about the way pipes are constructed together, if it's starting to shift, it's because of differential settlement of soils that support that pipe. So typically it's poor compaction. It's something related to the construction methodology.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Pettit?
I don't have a question. She pretty much answered it.
I
Ms.
do have a question.
Yeah, Ms. Williams, I'd like to follow up though. In your description of the work you described earlier, did it include the replacement of those laterals that are now at issue?
I believe so. I would
And-
like to confirm. I'm
Okay, and the next question is, what's the warranty on that work?
1 year.
1 year?
Yes.
All right, if you could confirm that those laterals, those pipes were part of the work, that would be helpful.
Okay.
You have a question? To her or someone else?
Yes, Ms. Williams, I do have a question while you're looking. Kind of piggybacks off of what the chairman said. If they were replacement of the laterals, then that means there was a differential of the soils. The old soil that had been packed in there for 100 years removed, and then the new laterals put in by the contractor and new soil. So that would cause a differential in the soils, which would cause a possibility of a shifting of the lateral, correct?
That could be, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Any additional questions while Ms. Williams is looking for an answer for my question?
Yes, sir. That brings up the other point from Ms. Williams. When you say compacting.
Wait. Ms. McBride, she's looking for something for me now.
I'm sorry.
So if you
I'm
have a
sorry.
question for someone else, that's fine. But actually, she's the only other witness, so there would be no one else to answer a question for you.
Yeah, my question is for Ms. Williams, so
Okay, so
I'll
let's
wait.
hold on a moment so we can get
Yes.
her to do that. But while she's doing it, Ms. Nesich, what is, given the complexity of this issue and the longstanding complaints, has there been any attempt at mediation regarding the work that was done and potentially the work that was done by the contractor that's now defective for the benefit of the homeowner? Has there been any discussion with the water department to try to come up with a solution?
Well, as Ms. McBride said, she was asking the water department to investigate and get back to her. That has been done multiple times over, multiple investigations, multiple updates. As requested by the board, I sent along all of the reports that are in our records and the engineer's determination. ahead of this hearing. The complaints began, they perhaps did coincide with the construction, but the complaints began around water in the cellar. And so the initial investigations that were performed by the water department focused on what, the typical causes of what can cause water in a cellar, and that's generally a leak. And so here, the leak unit was primarily involved. And then once multiple investigations of leaks went in, investigated the area, then the water department started turning to other units. But what might be helpful is, has the board gotten a chance to look at the property itself as it currently is today and some older street view photos of what the property looks like? That'd be helpful in contextualizing.
If you want to
the
put that on
situation?
the record, you can. I mean, the board members have had an opportunity to view everything that was submitted as part of the.
Sure.
case.
Well, yeah,
But-
I'd like the board to take notice of Cyclomedia, which is basically like the Philadelphia Google Street View. It's a Philadelphia database, publicly available, and it takes regular dated photos of all Philadelphia streets on a regular basis. And you can go back in time and look at what the streets looked like at various points in time.
Well, understood, but the issue really comes down to, and this is what Ms. Williams is going to confirm for us, that
Mhm.
laterals were replaced. And if
Right.
laterals were replaced during that project, it really doesn't matter what it looked like before. The issue is who's
Yeah,
responsible for
that's
the defect now.
that's
And
true,
normally-
but this may
Wait,
this
let me
may
finish.
also
No, let me finish.
yeah. Thank you.
Normally, of course, it's always legally the responsibility of the homeowner from the front wall out to the city main. However, if you had a city hired and paid contractor to do the work, and that work was found to be defective at some point in the future, the issue becomes whether that contractor is still liable, or does the homeowner now take on that responsibility? And so that's all I wanted to hear from Ms. Williams as to the timeframe. We, as a board, have the authority to determine if, in fact, the violation notices were proper, if they were issued and if they were issued proper, of course, we defer a lot to the issuing department. And so that's essentially where we are. I don't want to get it over complex. So that's where we are. Ms. Williams, any progress?
I mean, I cannot find, I'm looking at the drawings for the project, the new sewer, and they don't explicitly state that, but based on the photographic evidence, just even like Cyclomedia and also the pictures that the customer submitted with the sidewalk being excavated out, that means that we provided a new lateral, curb trap and FAI.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I need to, before we do anything further, Ms. McBride, do you have any
Yes.
final argument you'd like to make? Then we'll hear from the city before we make a decision.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to ask Ms. Williams, you said about the compacting of the dirt. It may not have been compacted. Or it takes a lot to compact it, and maybe
I said that
with the
as
shifting.
that's a way for pipes to shift, is if it's the soil underneath is poorly compacted. I don't know if
Okay.
that happened here or not. Like, I wasn't present to observe the construction.
Got you. Now, me as a layperson, obviously, but I've been dealing with this since 2019. That's would be also my understanding, and that would also, this is not a question, Chairman, but as a
Okay, well, that's
layperson,
why, okay.
I would
So
ask as a
let's do this.
layperson.
Okay, let's do this, because we have certain procedures we have to follow, and we have more
Sir.
cases to hear. And so what I'd like you to do for us, if you would, give us a summary statement about where this is and what you would like to have happen, and we will ask the city water department to do the same thing, and then we will vote, okay? So what would
Okay.
you like to sum up your case and say to us that will give us some sense of what you're expecting?
So in summary, what I'm expecting is to be made whole. And in doing so, it would be to not have this lateral broken, which was not broken before this project had been done, completed, was not, I didn't have an issue before that. And so I would like to be made whole and not be held responsible as the homeowner to repair this lateral when it wasn't broken before this project was taken underway. That would be what I would like to see the outcome, and to eventually what happened with that, with the lateral being broken, I'm still back at point A with my wall being wet and me having mold issues. So all of that works together. It all comes together because of the work that was done by the contractors, the independent contractors.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Nessich?
Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. McBride. Just as a final note, in order to achieve your goal of being made whole, you would have to have a certain decision made that there is something wrong, and in that we are in agreement. There is a broken lateral at your property, and you can later take this decision and bring it with you to another venue perhaps and be made whole there. Here there is only one question that the board can answer, and that's, is there a defective lateral at your property? And it's the city's position that there is. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to take a short executive session, and we will be back going off the record. It's now 5 after 3. We should be back by 10 after. Thank you. Okay, we prepared to hold the board regarding HA 2024-001421, 5020 West Thompson Street, Darlene McBride. And before we actually vote, Ms. McBride, as a layperson, it's important that you understand that our role has a very limited reach. We're here to determine whether the violation notice was properly written, if in fact there is a defect. Based on our testimony thus far, everyone agrees there is a defect and that the violation notice reflects that defect. Well, there is a dispute with is who's responsible for it and how did it happen. That was beyond the scope of this board. So we'll start with that. So we will vote, and hopefully we will provide you with give you some sense of resolution and a way to move forward. So with regard to 1421 520 West Thompson Street, my vote is 5020 West Thompson Street. My vote is city affirmed with a 6-month stay of enforcement. I ask my colleagues to join me.
City affirmed with a 6-month stay of enforcement.
City affirmed with a 6-month stay of enforcement.
City affirms 6-month stay of enforcement.
What that means, Ms. McBride, that we've agreed that the city's violation was properly written. However, we're asking them not to take any additional enforcement action for at least 6 months so that you have an opportunity to formally formally file a complaint to take legal action in order to resolve who's responsible for making the repair. Okay? You're muted, ma'am. And of course, you have the ability to appeal any decision of this board. If you need information as to how to appeal our decision, check with the administrator's office and they will help you they will give you the information you need to do that. Thank you very much for your participation.
Thank you.
And have a good evening. The witnesses are excused. Okay. Let's move on to the next matter.
Next item is number 7 on the list, sir. Hearing appeal ending 2526, 1601 West Nedro Avenue, 16th and Nedro Grocery Store Incorporated. Joseph Acaro Esquire is listed as the attorney.
Okay, who's representing the city in this matter?
Good afternoon, Chairman Woodson, Kristen Patchell for the city.
Okay, I'm not sure if I recognize the voice. I didn't get a name.
Oh, I'm sorry. Good afternoon, Kristen Patchell for the city.
Okay.
And
Ms.
good
Patchell?
afternoon. May it please the board, Joseph Vaccaro on behalf of the store. Seated to my left is the store's representative, Angeldania Pena.
Okay, all right. You have witnesses, Ms. Patchell?
Yes, the city would call Ms. Jody Wilkins.
Ms. Wilkins, you raise your right hand so that you may be sworn. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today be the truth so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Vaccaro, will you be calling a witness today?
Depending on the testimony that comes out today,
Okay,
I may be calling Ms. Pena.
all right, thank you. Okay, Ms. Patchell, you may proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Wilkins.
Good afternoon.
Can you tell the members of the board what your current title is?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Can you tell the members of the board what your current title is?
Oh, yes, sanitarian supervisor,
Okay, thank you. And how long have you held that position?
over 13 years.
And what department in the city do you work for?
Health department.
Thank you. And what are your roles and responsibilities?
I oversee our tobacco unit. We issue tobacco tickets for those who sell tobacco to minors or those under 21. And we issue permits for to sell tobacco and cigarettes in the city.
Thank you. As part of your role as the sanitation head, did you issue a denial of an application for a 2024 tobacco retailer permit?
Yes,
And was this for the 16th and Nedro grocery store?
correct,
And was this located at 1601 West Nedro Avenue?
correct,
And would you recognize a copy of this letter if you saw it?
yes.
Members of the board, I would now ask permission to share my screen.
Yes, please.
Ms. One second, I think it's loading. Ms. Wilkins, do you see what's on the screen?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and do you recognize this document?
Yes,
Okay, and what was the date of this document?
May 30th, 2024,
And who was it issued to?
16th and Negro Grocery Store, Inc.
Okay, thank you. And this was for a denial of an application for a tobacco retailer permit. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and what was the date of the renewal application?
10/5/23.
And does the denial letter go on to explain why the application was denied?
Yes, it was.
And can you give that reason to the board?
It was denied because there were at least 3 violations of tobacco sales to youth within 24 months from the time they applied.
Okay, so 24 months preceding the date of application would bring us back to October 5th of 2021. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and the section of the Philadelphia Code that governs this is 9-622. Is that also correct?
Correct.
And can you read into the record the dates of the violations as well as the CVN numbers?
Yes, so the first one was May 24th, 2022. Sell tobacco without ID, CVN 641-67935. And then the second violation of September 10th, 2022. Sell tobacco to a minor, the CVN is 643-57856. And then also on that same date was a tobacco sale without ID, CVN 643-57860. And then the third violation date of June 14th, 2023, sell tobacco to a minor, CVN 646-88982. And then also on that same date, there was a tobacco sale without ID, CVN 646-88993.
Thank you. And all 5 of these tickets are within the 2-year look back period. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. If a store receives one of these CVNs and they don't agree with it, what's the current process?
If they don't agree with it, then they can file an appeal, which is on the back of the ticket, the instructions to file.
And what office would they file that appeal with?
The Office of Administrative Review.
So in order to challenge these CVNs, you need to appeal to the OAR. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And did that happen for these tickets?
No, that did not.
Okay. And does the denial letter specifically note that there had been no appeal taken?
No, there was no appeals.
Okay. And Ms. Wilkins, were these tickets in fact paid?
Yes, they were.
Okay. And as part of the case file for this tobacco permit denial, did you review the tickets that were issued?
Yes.
And would you recognize them if you saw them?
Yes.
Moving on to what has been pre-marked as City Exhibit 2. Do you recognize this first CVN that it's on screen?
Yes.
And what was the date it was written?
5/24. The date of violation is 5/24/22. The date it was issued at the bottom.
Okay, but the violation date was May 24th, correct?
Correct.
And it was issued the 16th in Negro Grocery Store?
Yeah.
Okay. And in the comment section, what does it say?
The tobacco sale without ID 9-6221B1.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the next page, if I could direct your attention to the left-hand corner, what are we looking at there?
This is a tobacco sale for the second violation of 9/10/22.
Okay.
Negro Grocery Store.
And what was the comment there?
Tobacco sale with tobacco sale to minor 9-6218.
Thank you. Continuing on to the right-hand corner, is that for the same date in question?
Yes.
Okay. And what was that comment?
Tobacco sale without ID.
Okay, thank you. Continuing down to the next page, are there 2 additional CVNs here?
Yes, that is for June 14, 2024.
Okay, and 2 separate violations were issued on this day, correct?
Yes, correct.
And they were both issued to the 16 and Negro Grocery Store.
Correct.
Okay, and what were the comments?
The first one on the left is tobacco sale to minor, and then on the right, tobacco sale without ID.
Okay, great, thank you. Ms. Wilkins, does every one of these tickets include appeal language?
Yes, it is. It's on the back of the sticker.
Okay, and would you recognize a sample of this appeal language if you saw it?
Yeah.
Okay, I would move to what has been pre-marked as City Exhibit 3. Do you recognize what's on screen there?
Yes, that's the payment instructions on the back of the ticket.
Okay, and then moving on down to the bottom, there's a section that says admission and waiver. Do you see that?
Yes.
And what, if anything, does that say?
That it admits if they sign it, they admit their guilt, and also if they pay it, they admit their guilt.
Okay, thank you. And in this instance, the tickets were paid, correct?
Correct.
And they were never appealed?
Correct.
Okay, I don't have anything further.
Objection to that portion of the testimony. There's no document attached to the city's exhibit packet about whether these tickets were paid or not.
Okay, that's so noted, but that's her direct testimony based on her knowledge of the operation. You have any cross-examination?
Yes, I do.
Okay, please.
Any other questions, Ms. Patchell, or?
No, I rest.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Wilkins, good afternoon. How are you today?
Good afternoon. I'm fine, Mr. Carroll.
That's good. If I may be permitted to share my screen so that I can
Yes.
show those tickets,
Yes.
the same tickets? Bless you.
You should have a prompt there, Mr. Vaquero.
Yes. I always have a problem with that. Can you see the CVNs?
Yes, just make them a tad larger, please.
Sure. Let me move this over and I'll make that. Just trying to make it larger. Is this better? Can you
Yep,
see?
that's better. That's better.
Okay, wonderful. Let's start with the first set of CVNs. The one dated 5/24/22 attached to the city's packet as City 2. Ms. Wilkins, is it your testimony that you issued that ticket, or in fact it's somebody else that issued that ticket, correct?
Yeah, somebody else issued the ticket, correct.
In fact, who did?
D. Richardson.
And so you didn't witness the appellant selling tobacco products without checking ID, correct?
Correct.
Objection, relevance.
With,
What's the basis of the objection?
For relevance.
Mr. Vaccaro?
um,
Where we headed?
well, the witness had already testified about these three CVNs and what they contain and the information that's contained therein, as well as her personal knowledge of my client. So I'm entitled to cross-examine her on what she knows and what she doesn't know.
Okay.
And if I may
objection's
briefly,
overruled. Let's move on.
I'm sorry, Mr. Woodson, I didn't
I
hear
said
you.
the objection was overruled, so you may proceed.
Thank you. So I don't know if you answered this question or not, so I'm going to repeat it, Ms. Wilkins. And I'm sorry if I'm asking you to repeat. You did not witness my client selling tobacco without first checking ID on May 24th of 22, correct?
That's correct.
And who is Dee Richardson?
The Richardson was an inspector that I signed to go to the store to issue the tickets. She was under my employ.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part of your
She
testimony.
was under my employee at that time.
Does she still work for the city?
Yes.
Does she still work in your department?
Not under me, no.
How did my client receive this CVN?
It was delivered to by the Richardson.
It was personally delivered by Dee Richardson?
Correct.
The next CVNs are dated September 10th of 22. Were they issued by you personally?
Yes.
And how did you issue those two CVNs?
I went to the store myself.
And did you personally witness my client sell tobacco products to a minor?
No, I did not.
And did you personally witness my client sell tobacco products without checking ID?
No, I didn't.
On the third set of CVNs, the ones dated June 14th of 23, who issued these two CVNs?
Dee Richardson.
The same Dee Richardson as in the first?
Correct.
Did you witness my client sell tobacco products to a minor on that day?
No, I did not.
Did you witness my client sell tobacco products without checking ID on that day?
No, I did not.
And how was that? How were those two CVNs issued?
She went in person to the store.
Okay. How do you know that she went in person to the store?
Then I got the ticket back.
I'm sorry?
I got the ticket back from her.
All right. At this point, I have no further questions for Ms. Wilkins, but I do reserve the right to recall her for additional testimony depending on how the city proceeds.
Okay. Ms. Paschal, any additional witnesses?
No, the city at this point would just ask to mark and move C1 to 3 in the record and would rest.
So moved into the record. Mr. Vaccaro, your opportunity to put your case on?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would call Ms. Pena as a witness if she could be sworn in, please.
Okay.
Okay,
Ms.
and-
Pena,
and
raise
speak
your right
close
hand
to
so
the
you may be-
computer, okay? Raise your right hand so he could swear you in. Okay, go ahead.
Ms. Pena, give us your name, please, your full name, spell your last name. We are not hearing her. Mr. Vaccaro, I think you need to move over.
Come closer. Yep, over here.
All right, Angel Daniel Pena,
Spell your last name, please.
Pena.
All right, thank you. Raise your right hand, so maybe, do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today be the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay?
I'm going to speak very loudly. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Pena, what is your role in the store? Did you hear that?
Yes, we
Okay.
heard you. I'm not sure if you're addressing that to the board or not.
Yes, I was asking the board
Yes,
if you
we can
heard
hear
her. Okay.
Didn't hear her response, though.
You didn't hear her response?
Correct.
Yes.
We did not hear her response.
Okay. What is your role in the store?
Owner of the store.
Did you hear that response?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll just take it slow, okay? Speak into the computer. When did you purchase the store?
Purchased the store on 12/13/2022.
Did you know about the two violations of May 24th and September 10th of 22?
No.
Were you informed of any outstanding violations when you purchased the store?
No.
With respect to the 2023 violation, did you ever receive that ticket?
An employee of mine.
An employee of yours?
Yes.
Is it the store's policy to sell tobacco products without checking ID? Is it the store's policy to sell tobacco products to minors?
No.
Okay.
We are not hearing her responses. Please restate both questions.
Sure. Does the store sell tobacco products to minors?
No.
Does the store sell tobacco products without checking ID?
No.
When you found out about the 2023 violations, could you tell the board what happened?
When I found out,
Speak loudly and into the
when I
computer.
found-
Could you tell the board what happened when you found out about the 2023 violation?
I received the violation and the employee called me as soon as he received the ticket, and then yeah, I received the ticket, and yeah.
Okay. Do you know anything about this minor having purchased tobacco products?
No.
Okay. Do you know anything about that?
No.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. I don't know if the city has any cross-examination.
Ms. Patchell, you have any cross?
I don't have any cross.
Anyone on the board have any cross? Any questions? Okay, thank you. Any additional witnesses, sir? Mr. Vaccaro?
On behalf of the store, no further witnesses, and I could just have some argument at the
Okay.
appropriate time.
Well, let's do this then. I believe we've heard from all the witnesses, both sides would call, so we'll just close with closing by Mr. Vaccaro, then we'll hear from Ms. Patchell.
Thank you very much. Basically, members of the board, the record is insufficient to demonstrate the validity of the underlying two violations. And when the two violations that I'm referring to are the May 24th and the September 10th, as well as the June 14th, 2023 violations. The packet of records of the city, in addition to the testimony of Ms. Wilkins, is insufficient to establish the validity of these violations, given that Mr. Richardson or this individual named D. Richardson, who issued the May 24th as well as the June 14th violations, was not here to testify and was not here to substantiate the alleged sale of tobacco products to minors as well as without checking ID.
Thank you. Ms. Patchell?
Yes, Chairman Woodson. So the city's argument is that it's twofold. First, we're not here today to challenge the underlying tickets. The underlying tickets, if they are to be challenged, would be an appeal to the Office of Administrative Review. As you heard from Ms. Wilkins, that did not happen. Furthermore, these tickets were paid, which is an admission of guilt, which is clearly denoted both in the appeal language, and if I may share my screen once more.
Okay, Mr. Vaccaro will need to take his down.
Yes, I'll stop that. Okay.
Okay, Ms. Paschal?
Yes. Scrolling down. And clearly also noted in the code under 6-22, which clearly states that if these violations are paid, they will constitute an admission of the violation, whether or not the violator signs the statement. We heard from Ms. Penna, who's the owner of the store. She purchased the store in December of 2022. While the city is sympathetic to the fact that she didn't know about these other 2 tickets, unfortunately, it's irrelevant because she purchased the business and the business had the tickets incumbent with it. Furthermore, she knew about the 2023 tickets, she received them. These tickets were paid, and the city would argue that based on the current law, statute, and proposed regulations, this appeal of the denial of the tobacco permit should be denied. The city would also include as evidence C4 through C6, which are the relevant statutes.
Okay, thank you very much. Just hold on one moment. We need to,
I do have an inquiry of counsel for the city. Is it the city's position that that the tickets for all 3 violations were paid?
It's the city's position that all violations, all tickets.
None of them are outstanding. Understood.
Yes.
okay, just one moment. We're having some technical problems here, so we need to go off the record for a few minutes before we vote. And so it's about it's 3:36 at the moment. And so by 3:45, we should be back. So we're going to go off the record for a moment, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we're back up and ready to go. Okay, all righty. Just one moment here. Okay. Just 1 second here. Just need your patience for a moment. Okay, we're back on the record regarding HA 2024-002526, 1601 West Nedro Avenue, 16th and Nedro Grocery Store, Inc. We will begin the vote. City affirm.
City affirmed.
City affirmed.
City affirmed.
Okay, unanimous vote is city affirmed. Mr. Vaccaro,
Mr.
of course.
Woodson, just for the record, what was the HA number that you put on the record?
2024-002526.
I have 2528. Are we sure? Ms.
Yes, it's
Patchell?
2526. We can have the administrator reread it, just to
Okay.
confirm, Mr.
Thank you.
Just so the record is clear.
This is hearing appeal HA 2024-002-526, 1601 West Nedro Avenue.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Have a good afternoon. All the
You do the
witnesses are
same.
excused.
Thank you.
Mr. Rolo, we'll move on to the next matter.
Next matter on the list there is number 8, hearing appeal ending 2529.
Oh, that's city affirmed non-appearance.
Excuse me, this is the reporter. I'm not hearing Mr. Motto.
Okay, that one we resolved already. We on 9.
Case number 9, hearing appeal ending 2762-5901 Masher Street. Joselina Bueno, doing business at Bueno's Grocery.
Who's representing the city?
Good afternoon, members of the board. Ryan Kiger on behalf of the city.
Okay, afternoon, Mr. Kiger. I don't see the appellant. Is anyone present representing the interests of 5901 Masher Street? Joselina Bueno.
Appellants listed 901 North Master Street on their appeal. Notice of this hearing was sent to 901 North Master Street on 12/10/2024.
Okay, no one is responding, Mr. Kiger. What is your pleasure?
The city would request a city affirm for failure to appear.
Thank you. Mr. Pettit, what time do we have?
4:06 PM.
4:06 PM. All right, thank you very much. We will poll the board on HA 2024-002762 5901 Masher Street, Jocelyn Bueno, doing business as Bueno's Grocery. City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed for non-appearance.
City affirmed for non-appearance.
Okay, I think that moves us down to 16. I believe.
Yes, sir. That's hearing appeal ending 4826, 499 East Erie Avenue, All American Print Properties Inc. LLC.
Okay, who's representing the city? (499) East Erie Avenue.
Hi, this is Leonard Reuter, Senior Attorney for the City of Philadelphia. This matter was, I think, an error assigned to me. As you know, I'm in the Code Enforcement Unit, and this is an air management case. I don't know that any attorney for the Health Department Air Management was notified about the hearing. But that being said, since we're here and it doesn't appear that the appellant is here, we would, I'm going to ask that it be marked.
Well,
The problem is I don't know if Air Management might have made
let's do
an
this.
arrangement
Let's
with.
do this. We're going to continue this, given that neither party is present.
Yeah, they may have made an arrangement
Yeah.
that
So let's
I don't
continue.
know
That
about.
matter will be noted as continued.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, let's move on to the next matter.
Next matter is item 17, sir. Hearing appeal ending 4844, 499 East Erie Avenue, All American Print Properties LLC.
Okay, that matter will be continued as well.
That brings us, sir, to matter number 25. Here.
What about 18?
Forgive me, I'm sorry. I had 18 that we called it already, sir, no?
No.
Okay, 18 is hearing appeal ending 0202 5302 Rising Sun Avenue.
Thank you,
Ramco
Leonard.
Marketing Group.
Thank you. May it please the board, Leonard F. Reuter for the City of Philadelphia.
Okay, Mr. Reuter, is anyone responding for the appellant, Ramaco Marketing Group LLC?
No, and I would also indicate that the appeal was filed by an attorney. So I would ask if the board administration could confirm service.
Just 1 moment.
Just 1 moment, please. I'm sorry. The appellants listed All American Print Properties LLC.
No. Number 18, 5302 Rising Sun Avenue, 0202. That's Ramaco Marketing.
I'm sorry, bear with me just 1 moment. This is Ramaco Marketing Group LLC, 103 Carnegie Center, Suite 345 is what the appellants listed. Notice of this hearing was sent on 12/10/2024 to the same address, 103 Carnegie Center, Suite 345.
Thank you very much. Hearing no response, Mr. Reuter, what is your pleasure?
The city would ask that this appeal be denied for failing to appear.
Thank you. What time do we have, Mr. Pettit?
4:10 PM.
4:10 PM. All righty. We will poll the board on HA 2024-000202 5302 Rising Sun Avenue, Ramaco Marketing Group LLC, City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed for non-appearance.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good afternoon.
Item number 25 on the list, sir, is hearing appeal ending 2909, Asset Assistance LLC, Paul Chung Esquire listed.
Not that.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the board. For the record, Paul Chung on behalf of Asset Assistance LLC. Also joining the hearing today is a representative of Asset Assistance LLC, Donald Williams.
Okay, thank you. Who's representing the city?
Thank you, members of the board. Jeffrey Cohen for the city of Philadelphia.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Chung, will you be calling Mr. Williams to testify?
Yes, I will be with the city. It's our appeal, so I guess we'll call our witness
Well, the
first.
city will start. The
Oh,
city will
okay, yeah,
start.
yeah, we will, yeah.
I just want to
Yeah,
know.
Mr.
whether I
Williams
should-
will be testifying, sir.
Yeah, I just need, Mr. Williams, you raise your right hand so that you may be sworn. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give today be the truth to help you God?
Yes.
All right, thank you. You can place your hand down. Mr. Cohen, you're a witness?
Thank you. The city actually has two witnesses, if we could swear them in at the same time. Inspector Mark Slade and Manager Kenneth Paralak.
Okay, Mark Slade and Kenneth Paralak, okay.
And Inspector
Gentlemen,
Slade, you're still on mute.
Both gentlemen would raise your right hand so that you may be sworn. Do you swear or affirm the testimony given today be the truth to help you God? Mr. Paralak?
I do.
Mr. Slade?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. You can place your hand down. Okay, Mr. Cohen, please proceed.
Thank you. The city would first start with calling Inspector Slade.
Hi.
Inspector, if you could please tell the board how many years you've worked for LNI and in what capacity?
2 years and a year and a half with AIU.
AIU being the Audits and
Oh, it's
Investigations Unit.
investigation unit, yes.
All right, I'd like to share on my screen the city's exhibits packet that's been previously provided to the board and to the appellant.
Yes.
Can everyone see the exhibit list that's currently on the screen?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to jump to page 3, Exhibit C1. If you could, Inspector, tell me, what is this document that I have on screen?
The commercial activity license and his contractor's license number.
I'm sorry, is the contractor license number 54250 belonging to Asset Assistance LLC?
Yes.
And just for the record, is this the one that was issued on October 25th of 2023?
Excuse me. I'm sorry, I lost you there.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What did you ask?
When was this license issued?
Issued on 10/25. Okay, 2023. I'm sorry. I hear you now.
All right, and all this is sort of place setting. I apologize.
Yes.
What is this document that's on page 6?
Okay, it's again his license 054250. Yes, it matches. 10/24/24 was issued on.
And are these licenses kept by LNI in the ordinary course of its business?
Yes.
And
On
are
the
they-
Eclipse.
And is the information that goes into these licenses provided by the applicant and then reviewed by an LNI employee through the course of their duties?
Yes.
And from there, we're going to go down to page 9, Exhibit C2. And this highlighting in this document and throughout this exhibits packet has been provided by the city. It is not in the original unless I otherwise note it for the record. So what is this document?
That's his commercial building permit, issued permit.
When was this issued?
It was issued on February 10th, 2023.
And is this, what property was this issued for work at?
4512 to 16 Lancaster Avenue.
And is it for, well, what's the
For
approved
erection of
scope of
two-
work?
Yeah, for the erection of a 2-story vertical addition and 4-story rear addition with roof deck access structures to an existing 2-story attached structure for the interior alteration throughout the structure.
And is this the type of document that LNI keeps in the ordinary course of its business?
Yes.
And is this something that the information that goes into this would be entered by the permit applicant and then reviewed by an LNI employee through their ordinary duties?
Yes.
Going down to, here we go, page 14. What is this document?
There are licensing violations. Notice
And what-
violations.
What's the date of this license violation notice?
Date of notice is 6/12/2024.
And who put together the information that went into this notice?
I did.
And is that part of your ordinary duties?
Yes.
And is this a document that LNI keeps in the ordinary course of its business?
Yes, I'm assuming yes.
So what are the violations that were issued to this appellant in this notice?
Okay, there's a no subcontractor upload. failure to maintain insurance, failure to cooperate with audit investigation, and 2 workers with no OSHA 10.
For the no subcontractor upload, specifically, is that section 91048 sub 8A.3 of the Philadelphia Code, requiring that within 3 business days of starting work at a site, the prime contractor on the site must submit a list of subcontractors? Is that?
Yes.
And who is the prime contractor for the building permit we saw from 2023?
Asset management?
So it's the appellant, correct?
Yeah, Asset Assistance, excuse me, Asset Assistance LLC.
And the insurances, specifically, does this citation refer to their expired automobile and general liability insurances?
Yes.
And down here, the 2 OSHA 10 cards. Can you explain what it is or what the violation is to not have an OSHA 10 card?
Yes, each worker is required to have at least an OSHA 10, and the project manager to have an OSHA 30. 2 workers on the site that were working for him, as he stated to me, when I asked them for their OSHA 10 cards, they did not have any.
Oh, so you were actually the inspector on site who spoke to these workers?
Yes, I was actually with the defendant.
Actually, I'm going to go down now to, just for noting for the board, on page 17 is the Blur appeal form. I have not included another copy of the LVN that was included with this, but this is the appeal form. On page 18, this is listed as Exhibit C5. Inspector, are these your photos from your inspection?
Yes, they are.
When was the inspection done?
It was May 24th of 2024.
I'm sorry, was it the
May
24th or
29th
May
of 20,
29th?
no, I'm sorry, May 29th of 2024 by 10 o'clock in the morning. Yes.
And I'm just going to scroll through the photos and then go back to the first one. Are all of those photos fair and accurate representations of what you saw on May 29th, 2024 at 4512 Lancaster Ave?
Yes, I took the photos.
Thank you. And is this fencing up here, does that fencing indicate the work site?
Yes.
And you can see I'm going to get a little closer in. Who's the general contractor on that that
Asset
sign that's posted?
Assistance LLC, yes. Yes, it was there.
And what is depicted in this photo?
This gentleman here, he was, you see on the ladder, the spray foam or caulking. He was doing that. I asked him if he had an OSHA card after he told me he worked for Asset Assistance. He told me, yes, he does work for him. I asked him for an OSHA card. He didn't respond. He said he doesn't have one.
And this worker in this photo, can you explain what's depicted in this photo?
Basically the same thing. He was caulking or spray foaming, and I asked if he worked for you. He said, now the owner of Asset said yes. I asked him for an OSHA card. He did not have one also.
Thank you.
Either.
And is this what you can see in
that's what they were
rafters?
spray foaming, fire blocking with the spray foam.
Thank you. And was this gentleman, well, what's depicted in this photograph?
Okay, this gentleman here, he worked for Air Masters HVAC. He also did not have an OSHA card, but he did not work for Asset. He worked for a separate company, which got a separate case file written for him.
But when you were on site and you took this photograph, was he in the middle of working?
Yes, he was drilling a hole outside. He was drilling a hole, which outside for whatever he was doing. I don't say. He was just drilling a hole going out.
All right. That's actually all the questions that I have for the inspector. Thank you very much. I would reserve a little for rebuttal for redirect if it's necessary. And I would actually ask Mr. Chung, do you want me to continue sharing these on my screen and you can tell me which exhibits you want to go through?
I could probably pull up the same exhibits through
Then
my
I'll
shared
stop
screen.
sharing.
Probably just easier if I scroll through them myself.
Okay.
But
course.
thank you.
Mr. Chung, do you have any cross-examination?
I do. I'm just give me a moment to pull up the to pull up the share screen here. Where's it? Can you, is it on?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, Inspector. My name is Paul Chung on behalf of Asset Assistance LLC. Just have a few questions for you. On the day that you conducted the investigation, in what capacity was your investigation? Was it a normal investigation or?
Yes, it was it's called a program inspection list, which our department works off of certain build of permits over a certain amount of money, whether commercial or additions. And our supervisor assigns us work off that list to go out and do an investigation, audit investigation of the property, the contractors, and the workers on site.
Okay. And what specific steps did you take that morning to identify and document the alleged violations?
Okay, well, first thing I do is I go over the commercial permit. I go over all the child permits, meaning mechanical, electrical, fire suppression, whatever site permits. Make sure all the contractors are licensed and insured. And if they're a sole worker, if they're not a sole worker, I put all that information together. I write it down in my notebook. And I go out and first thing I do is I take a picture. Then I go on the job site. I usually find the job foreman or project manager, and I ask him a series of questions about his workers, the work going on, and you know, any safety hazards or safety concerns that, you know, are brought up to me at the time.
So during your preliminary investigation, did you make any determinations about the permitting or the licensing prior to speaking with the contractors on site?
Yes, I made sure the permit was issued and it was legal, wasn't expired. I made sure all the child permits that were issued or applied for that were not issued in case someone was there working without a permit. I checked his insurances before I went. So before I go on a site inspection visit, I usually know if they have insurances or the license is valid or not valid. I know about the upload, if they uploaded a commercial, uploaded a sub list. I know that right off the bat. And then I go through the contractors on the sub list to check them before I even go out. This job did not have his uploaded subcontractor list, which I asked him to, you know, through via email. We asked to supply one, which he didn't.
And when did you send that email?
I send it to.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Mr. Chung, I don't think that was part of his previous testimony, though, in terms of any communication between himself and the contractor. So you cross him in on his testimony, correct?
Yeah, I mean, yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
So I'm not really understanding. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, you're scrolling through the exhibits. I'm not sure where we're headed with the cross-examination.
I'm just asking him questions. I'm just asking him some general
Well,
questions.
what I'm saying is I'd like you to focus in on his testimony that he's given. He didn't raise anything regarding previous communication with the contractor. That's the only point I'm making.
If I could interject with an offer of proof, the audit email that the city has included in its packet was actually sent by a different individual and will be part of the questioning of Manager Kenneth Paralak as part of the larger investigation. Because that email wasn't sent by Mr. Slade, I didn't include it in the direct examination.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Slade, so when you make the determination that the contractor did not provide the subcontractor list, do you typically refer to the information available on Eclipse?
Well, yes, it wasn't on it. If there's a subcontractor list spot in there, there was nothing uploaded in it.
Okay, I'm gonna direct your attention to city exhibit, I guess 0029, page 29. Can you see that? Is that clear, or do I need to make that a little bigger?
You need to make
For
that
the
bigger.
record, City's Exhibit C11.
C11, thank you.
What do you want me to look at?
Where it's highlighted, right in the middle of the screen, scheduled start date, June 5th, 2024. Let's see, verify permit change. Do you see that line, sir?
Verify permit change, yes.
Yeah, there's 3 lines. Thank you. And the assigned to name here is, do you see that assigned to name?
Yes, James Bernard.
Okay.
He was the inspector. He was
Right.
the actual building inspector. He wasn't what I do.
Okay. And then the complete date here is
June 10th.
June 10th. Okay. And can you just briefly describe what these line items portray, or you know, the information that is conveyed here?
Well, I was there in May 5/29. So the contractor changed in June 10th, when 6/10. He must have there must have been a contractor change, and I have no, I don't deal with that at all. That's up to the building inspector in a totally different department. And my manager, Manager Paralak, can explain more of that to you. I don't do that.
Okay. So in the notice of violation that was sent on June 12th, I'm just going to scroll back up to there real quickly. Can you see that, the notice of violation?
Yes.
Right here, there's a note that says, I'm going to represent that it reads, on June 11th, 2024, the Department of License and Inspections determined that the responsible party named above violated the licensing requirements set forth in Title IX of the Philadelphia Code.
Yes.
Was that your determination?
No, my determination was on 5/29 when I was out there, did my investigation, had to wait 7 days for a subcontractor list to come back, which it never did. Then I fill my violations out and send my email for supervisor review, and all that takes time. And that was probably the date that they sent it out. It has nothing to do with me on that, sir.
Okay. Let me just let me just ask you a few questions about your interactions with the contractors on site.
Okay.
Did you speak to them in English, or?
Yes, I speak English, sir.
Okay. Did they speak English?
Actually, I don't remember.
You don't
But
remember?
the asset management that I know was standing next to me when I asked him, and he was right there with me when they said no, they didn't have it.
Okay. Did they understand the question?
I showed him a picture of the card.
Okay, so, but that doesn't really explain whether or not they understood the question.
Well, he
did they-
would have. The owner understands. He was standing there next to me.
Okay. And how did you determine whether or not they were employees of Asset Assistance LLC, or if they were a subcontractor?
Donnell's name is, told me that they work for him.
Okay. Were you able to, did you ask for their names? Were their names included in your report?
No, I didn't ask their names.
Okay. And the one contractor that was working for the HVAC, how did you know that he was not an employee of Mr. Williams?
Mr. Williams told me that he's worked for Air Masters.
Okay, but you didn't ask for his name either.
No, I asked if he had a no-show card. I showed him a picture of it. He did not have one either.
Okay. So when you conducted your inspection, did you communicate directly with any representatives of Asset Assistance LLC?
Yes, Mr. Williams. I was standing there with him the whole time, from the beginning to the end.
Okay, and did you raise any of the violations listed on the notice of violation with him?
Actually, yes, I did. I actually told him that he does not have his sub list up, and he should have one up within 3 days after the initial inspection. And I actually said, I'm going to ask you by via email for a sub list, and I recommend you put a sub list up tonight on your free time. And not only did he not put it up, he didn't even reply. I gave him the opportunity.
Okay. And what about the expired auto insurance policy? Did you bring that up to him as well?
No, I
Okay.
didn't. I didn't think of it at the time, probably.
Okay.
Or if I did, I don't recall. To be honest with you.
Okay. What about the certificate of insurance? Did you raise that with him as well at the time?
Expired insurances? I don't recall. Be honest with you, I don't
Okay.
recall. Sometimes I tell them if they're, sometimes I don't if I know. Maybe I didn't have that information written in my book on the job site. That may have been in my car in a separate book.
Okay.
But that's
So
not my responsibility.
is it safe to say that the only issues that were brought to Mr. Williams' attention that morning or that day were the no sub list and the no OSHA cards for the
Yes,
two
yes, that
employees
day.
that day?
Yeah.
Were you the inspector responsible for identifying what what the city believes to be the expired insurances?
Yes.
Okay, and when did you conduct that investigation?
At the office, probably the same day, either that afternoon or probably even that morning. I don't recall the process I took with that. Sometimes I do the work the night before, then go out the next morning first thing. So I really don't recall when I did it, but before I do my case, it's done, It's
Okay,
completely.
and that's just based on what the information available on Eclipse, is that correct?
Yeah, I check it. I check everyone the same way.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions, but reserve the right to call Inspector Slade if there's any follow-up that's necessary.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Mr. Cohen, any additional witnesses?
Yes, the city would call Kenneth Paralak, and thank you, Inspector Slade.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Well, if the city isn't doing any redirect for Inspector Slade, Mr. Chung, would you still want to call him back, or can he be excused?
No, I guess he could be excused.
Well,
Okay, thank you.
No, not yet.
Well,
actually,
You may need
unless the
Sorry,
board has some
the board
follow-up.
might have questions.
Yes.
No, I'm not going anywhere.
Okay,
Then
Mr.
the city
Cohen?
would call Kenneth Paralak. And actually, Mr. Chung, if you could
Yep.
stop sharing your screen, I'm going to reshare on my screen the city's exhibits
I'm
packet.
working on that right now. Usually there's a stop share.
Might be hidden at the top of the screen. Like if you put your mouse all the way up, it might unhide.
Oh yeah, stop share. Yep.
Oh, there you go.
There's a little drop down. All right, there you go.
Perfect. All right, Manager Paralak, are you here?
Yes,
Okay, sorry. How many years have you worked for LNI and in what capacity?
I've worked for LNI for 9.5 years, roughly 2 years for the audits and investigation unit, roughly a year as an interim manager, a little over 2 years as a supervisor, and the balance of the years was a construction plans review specialist.
And through the course of your duties for the Audits and Investigations Unit, did you review the records for and help facilitate the investigation into license violation notice CF 2024-045514?
Yes.
And actually, I'm going to jump to that exhibit on page 14 right now, the license violation notice. Can you explain the significance of this June 11th, 2024 date on this notice?
So the investigation start date was May 14th of 2024. That's the day we started it. We go out, we gather all our information. When Inspector Slade comes back to the office, he asked our investigative analyst to send out a email requesting a detailed subcontractor list. We give 7 days for that. So that detailed subcontractor list, we're asking everybody from the flooring contractor to the rebar guy to the painter. We want to make sure that everybody on site is licensed and insured. right? So we have to give time for that response to come back. So after that 7 days, if they don't respond, an additional violation is going to get added on to 9-10048A3, which would be failure to cooperate with an audit investigation. We have to give you time to cooperate. So that's why the date 6/11 of 2024 is later than the actual start date of the investigation.
So let's go a little further backwards in the timeline, and in the city's packet to page 26. This is Exhibit C9. What is this exhibit?
This is an inspection report.
And what's the date of this inspection report?
3/3/2023.
And is this a document L&I keeps in the ordinary course of its business?
It is.
And is the information entered into this document by an L&I inspector through their ordinary duties?
Yes, it is.
So which inspection was this?
This inspection was the initial inspection, 3/3 of 2023.
And was that the inspection that Inspector Slade in his testimony said sort of starts the clock for the sublist?
Yes, it does. Once this initial inspection is completed, the contractor has 3 days to upload any subcontractors that are working on that project.
So then what does the inspection result on this inspection?
Passed.
So that would mean that March 6th of 2023 would have been the 3-day date?
Correct.
Now scrolling down here, what is this document that I have on screen? It's listed as Exhibit C10, page 27 in the city's packet.
This is an email from R. William Michael. This is to the contractor, asset assistance, requesting a detailed subcontractor list.
And just for the record, the yellow highlighting is actually in the original, and all the other colors of highlighting are not in the original. When was this email sent?
This email was sent May 30th of 2024.
So the day after Inspector Slade visited the site?
I believe so. Yes.
May 29th, May 30th.
May 29th is the day he visited the site. Yes.
So why was this email sent?
This email was sent to request a detailed subcontractor list. We want to know every contractor that's on there, your drywall guys, your framers, all the people that do not have child permits. We want to know who they are and who they work for.
And along with that, this attachment, the subcontractor audit form, what does that attachment do?
When is it due?
No, sorry, what does it do? What is it for?
The subcontractor audit form tells us each contractor, it'll provide the name of the contractor, their license number, and what they do on site.
Does that provide more information or the same information as entering that info into the Eclipse system?
More information, because when they upload the contractor information into the Eclipse system, it's just telling us what the contractor's name is and their license number. It's not telling us what trade they are. So we want to know if your name's ABC Construction, what are you doing? Are you doing framing or are you doing painting? This is what this form does.
And in the email down here in orange highlighting, does it actually say respond by email with the requested documents as well as add subcontractors through Eclipse?
Yes.
So it's asking both methods?
Both.
And what's the response due date in this email?
6/6 of 2024.
So is that the week that you were talking about, week from sending the email to getting a response?
Yes, the email was sent on May 30th of 2024. The response date is supposed to be 6/6 of 2024.
Did L&I ever get a response?
No.
And by 6/6/24 well, actually, I'll get into that in a second. But when L&I doesn't get a response to this email, what can result from that?
An additional violation in addition to the not uploading subcontractors is applied to the case file.
And going back up to page 14 at the bottom, is that the contractors shall cooperate in any audit investigation by the department? Is that the violation?
Yes, it is 9-100461.
And because it got cut off on the first page, I just want to point out for the record, part of the law also says the contractor shall provide prompt, accurate, and complete responses to inquiries by the department. Did this contractor, Asset Assistance, provide a prompt, accurate, or complete response to L&I?
No.
And actually jumping back down now to page 29, which is Exhibit C11 in the packet, and I'll make this bigger on my screen because I know the text is very small. What is this document that I have on screen?
This is the processes tab on the commercial building permit. This shows every process that starts from the application, the permit application to the certificate of occupancy.
And is this a document L&I keeps in the ordinary course of its business?
Yes, it is.
And is this something that the information that goes into this document is entered either by the permit holder or by an L&I employee through the course of their ordinary duties?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Chung had asked Inspector Slade about these three highlighted events on the processes tab. What are these verify permit changes on June 10th of 2024?
So this is the date that the general contractor uploaded the subcontractor information to the permit. And it's clearly more than 3 days after the initial inspection.
But if we're looking at our timeline, June 6th, I think, was the email's due date. So June 10th would be 4 days after the due date in the email.
Yes.
And the email also requested respond by email and upload information through Eclipse. But this is only one of those two methods, right?
Yes.
To date, has Asset Assistance LLC provided an email response with that subcontractor audit form?
No.
And going back up a little bit in the packet to page 23, and I apologize for jumping around. What is this document that I have on screen?
This is a certificate of liability insurance document.
And just for the record, as part of the Philadelphia Code, which is actually on pages 30 through 35 in this packet, as part of 9-1004, contractor is required to maintain automobile liability and general liability insurances. I'll cover that more in closing. I just wanted to mention it because Manager Paralak, what is the type of insurance on this certificate of liability?
On this one, it's automobile.
And when did this policy expire?
5/5 of 2024.
So looking at our timeline, that's 9 days before the investigation started on May 14th.
Correct.
And something around 24 days before the site visit of Inspector Slade that found workers working actively at the work site.
Correct.
So on the day, on May 29th, L&I did not have proof that there was automobile liability insurance for this contractor. Is that right?
Correct.
Scrolling down to the next exhibit on page 24 in the packet, Exhibit C7. What is this document?
This is a certificate of liability insurance for the commercial general liability. And the expiration date was 4/29 of 2024.
That expired like a week before the auto insurance, right?
Correct.
So it also would not have been, L&I would not have had proof of continuing general liability insurance on May 29. Is that right?
Correct.
All right, now scrolling down here to page 25 in the packet, which is Exhibit C8. What is this document?
This is the documents tab on the contractor's license. This is where we go to find insurance information.
And who provides the insurance information that goes onto this tab?
The contractor.
So looking at these insurance lines that are highlighted in pink, Do those correspond to the two insurance certificates we saw above?
Yes, motor vehicle and general liability, and they were uploaded on July 11th of 2023 and December 18th of 2023.
And then they expired respectively on May 5th of 2024 and April 29th of 2024.
Yes.
But moving up to these lines here, the lines highlighted in orange, motor vehicle liability, general liability, and also motor vehicle liability. When were those uploaded?
Those were uploaded on October 23rd of 2024 and November 21st of 2024.
So that would mean that they had not yet been uploaded when the investigation was ongoing from May 14th of 2024 to June 11th of 2024?
Correct.
Does L&I need to have proof that there is insurance active and not just take the contractor's word that there is insurance active?
Correct.
Is that, hold on, I'm just going to scroll up to page 14 for a second. Is that the cause behind this expired insurances violation here, the second violation on page 14?
Correct.
I think that's all the questions that I have for you, Manager Paralak. Thank you very much. I would just reserve a little for redirect if necessary, and I'll stop sharing my screen for Mr. Chung's cross-examination.
Any cross-examination, Mr. Chung? Oh, Mr. Chung, any cross-examination?
Mr. Chung, you're muted.
Yes,
Sorry.
I'm just trying to share the screen. Sorry, I had it muted there for a second. Good afternoon, Mr. Paralak. I know it's been a long day. Just want to follow up with a few questions. We're going to go back to C11 that the city provided, page 29. Where we briefly discussed the uploads here. So the June 5th, 2024 date, would that be the date that the permit holder uploaded the documents?
Yes.
And was that prior to the June 6th deadline set by L&I?
It's not a deadline to upload your insurance. It's a deadline to provide contractor, subcontractor information.
Okay, so did the contractor provide subcontractor information prior to June 6, 2024?
Yes.
Okay. But you're saying that the contractor did not provide like an email to L&I, is that correct?
The contractor did not comply with an audit investigation. We requested a detailed subcontractor list to be provided showing all the contractors and what they did. This violation is for not providing the insurance when we did our investigation. We're not given a chance to upload it. It's like getting pulled over and you don't have your driver's license on you. You're getting a ticket.
Okay. Just going to go back up to, I guess, page 25. Did you have a chance to review the documents uploaded on October 23rd and November 21st, respectively, highlighted in orange?
I did not review them on those dates. I reviewed them on the supervisor review date on the case file, which is prior to issuing the NOV. That's when I review all the insurance documentation. If it's not in the system on the day that I'm doing my supervisor review, the violation's being issued.
Okay, so you have not seen these uploaded documents?
I've seen them now reviewing the case, but they weren't there prior to issuing the NOV.
Okay, and what were your findings of the documents that were uploaded?
Well, they're approved on October 23rd, 2024. That's when they were approved.
Okay. And did the appellant have automobile coverage at the time of the investigation?
That's not what the violation's for. It's for not providing the insurance information.
Could you just answer the question, sir?
You would have to pull the document up for me then.
Okay, I am going to present the appellant Exhibit 3.
Actually, the city objects to the relevance of this document. The date on the document, right up in the top right corner, is October 24th of 2024, 4 months after the investigation concluded. So this document would not have been available at the time the investigation was concluded.
Chairman, this document shows that there was indeed automobile coverage at the time of the investigation.
I think the issue is whether or not that information was available to the city at the time of the investigation.
Well, I'm just trying to establish that Mr. Williams and asset assistance was not.
Well, so you can make that in your argument and/or your case when you present it.
Okay.
I think he responded to it. He answered your question.
I don't think he did.
Okay. Well, there was an objection, and I'm sustaining the objection. So let's move on.
Okay. That's fine. And the certificate of liability insurance that was uploaded on November 11th. Did you November 21st, excuse me. Sorry, I apologize. October 23rd, the general liability document. Did that show whether or not the appellant had coverage at the time of the investigation?
You would have to pull that document up also.
Okay. Going to present this certificate of liability insurance.
The city has the same objection.
Well,
this document is dated at the top right corner, October 23rd of 2024. Again, created 4 months after the investigation concluded.
Okay. Well, I guess, has it been presented any document that would reflect the time period of this investigation? Do we have that certificate available? Mr. Chung or Mr. Coleman? Because the question to Mr. Paralack is whether or not he was aware of the currency of the coverages and what document would prove that. Isn't that the case?
That is correct.
So do you have that certificate, Mr. Chung, in your exhibit package?
I do not. Well, I only have the ones that the city provided, which were dated, almost a year before the investigation took place. So, yeah, I do not have anything in that regard.
Okay, so we're relying on Mr. Paralack's memory then. Is that it?
I guess so. Yeah, I have nothing further for Mr. Paralack.
Okay. Thank you.
The city does not have any redirect for Manager Paralack. Thank you very much to Inspector Slade and Manager Paralack. The city would move its exhibits C1 through C11 into evidence and otherwise rest.
So move. Mr. Chung, it's your opportunity.
Thank you, Chairman. At this time, I'd like to call Donald Williams to testify. Mr. Williams, you've already been sworn in. What is your role with Asset Assistance LLC?
I'm the sole owner.
Sole owner. Okay. And can you describe your responsibilities as a sole owner on this project?
Our responsibility is to pretty much manage the project, pull the permits, maintain insurance, and maintain subs, and basically just control the whole project from start to finish.
Okay. And how many subcontractors are currently or have been involved with this construction project?
At the time when, how many contractors? Maybe at this point 7. At the time that they showed up, there was not an immediate sub list because drywall, or there was no drywall on the walls. There were no paint. being done at the property. So at that time he was there, all the people that he to their permits were in the HVAC, the electrical, the building permit, the plumbing permit. All those permits were available to LNI at that point. And when I talked to the inspector, he did give me until, I believe, the 6th to upload.
Wait a minute, Mr. Chung, we prefer not to have narrative testimony. I don't believe he responded directly to your question.
Okay, sure, okay. So, okay, okay, thank you. So are the subcontractors that you use independent contractors or employees of Asset Assistance LLC?
Independent contractors.
Okay. And what step, if any, does Asset Assistance take to ensure subcontractors have valid OSHA 10 certifications?
Basically, the owner of the company gives us, they don't give us their OSHA cards, but we tell them that everybody must have their OSHA cards. And this is the first time that this has happened. So I'm not sure if this particular day that person just didn't have it on them or what happened, but we don't ask each worker that comes into the property, because that's basically the owner of the company job, just to make sure that their employees have the OSHA 10 cards on site.
And prior to the date of the investigation, were you aware of any employees or subcontractors whose certifications or insurance were not at the time, current at the time of the inspection?
No, I wasn't.
Was your general contractor license current and up to date at the time of the inspection?
Yes, it was.
You just don't get it.
And was your auto insurance policy active and current at the time of the inspection?
Yes, it was.
Okay. I'm going to present appellant's exhibit D or A3.
Again, the city renews its objection. This document was created after the investigation concluded.
Okay, Mr. Chung, before I rule on that, some foundation, please.
Foundation, well, I just asked him about his auto insurance policy.
Okay, will this form indicate the date that was effective, basically, not just that date in the upper right-hand corner, but also the coverage dates?
Right, it speaks to the coverage dates in the,
Okay,
well,
all right,
I was gonna ask Mr.
We'll
Williams.
allow it. Okay, we'll allow it.
Okay.
Mr. Williams, do you recognize this document?
Yes, I recognize it, because what happened was the city, I believe they may have changed their address to JFK Boulevard.
Okay, Mr. Chung, again, I'm asking if you have your witness.
Yeah, I
focus in
recognize.
on it.
Okay, and what is this document?
It's the insurance policy for the auto.
And could you just briefly state the effective dates and expiration date for the auto policy?
The auto is 11/17/23.
Okay, and did you provide this document to the city?
Yes, I did.
When did you provide this document to the city?
I upload the original, and then when it expires, before it expires, the insurance company sends a new cert to the city.
Geico, the insurance company, you mean Geico Insurance Agency?
Geico sends it to them every time it renews. They send a new one to the city.
Okay. And do you know when that would have occurred?
It did occur. It was sent back, and that's how I knew that the new one needed to be uploaded. And they gave me one with that new date up there, because the city sent it back, because it, maybe not the city, but it was sent back because it was the address was wrong on the bottom of the cert. So wherever it was going to, it was returned back to the sender. So when I requested it, that's why the date is at the top, because I didn't even know at the time that it was sent back to my insurance company.
Okay, thank you. And you previously testified that your commercial activity license is current. I'm going to present appellant's exhibit A2.
Everything is current. Never had a lapse in any of my insurances.
Okay, do you recognize this document?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And could you explain what this document is?
It's the contractor's license.
And could you just briefly state the expiration date on the license?
10/22/25.
Okay. Let's see here. And at the time of the investigation, was your commercial activity license or liability insurance policy active and current at the time of inspection?
All my insurance has always been valid. Never had a lapse in any of my insurances.
Okay. I am going to present to into evidence A1.
The city renews the same objection. This document was created months after the city's investigation was concluded.
I think this would be a similar situation to the auto insurance policy. If I just could ask a few questions.
Yes, please. Yes, we want to get the coverage dates.
Could you explain what this document is, Mr. Williams?
This is the auto. No, this is a general liability insurance.
Okay. And could you briefly state the effective policy date and the expiration date?
The effective policy date is 4/29/24. It expires 4/29/25.
And was this insurance liability active at the time of the investigation?
Yes.
And did you provide this information to the city?
Once again, it's automatically sent to the city once it renews, or it is automatically sent to them once it renews, or we have to upload it if it's between those times. So I think somehow mine's is off. So most of the time I'm uploading it and the insurance company is probably sending it as well. So either or.
Okay. Do you know if anything was sent back regarding the certificate of liability insurance?
To my knowledge, both of them were sent back, and that's the reason why the city at the time didn't have the updated one in their maybe system at the time. I'm not sure, but once I called in, they gave me a new one. You could see the date on there, and I just automatically uploaded it to the system. And it has never been an issue with our license, or never been like not have insurance or anything.
Understood. Okay, thank you. I'm just going to briefly refer to some of the city's exhibits here, specifically the pictures taken by Inspector Slade. Can you confirm that these pictures are the job site in question?
That's correct.
Okay, and you were there on that day?
I actually was down the street and the inspector called me, and I got back there. I was at the plumbing supply, and I got back there like in 3 minutes.
Okay, when you say the inspector, was that Inspector Slade?
Yeah, the one that was at the site. Yep.
Okay, and what was the nature of that initial call?
He asked me was I running the site, and he asked if I was around. He told me he was there, and I told him I was right up the street at the plumbing supply, and I got there like at 3 minutes of plumbing street. Supply is like 3 minutes, like not even 3 minutes, a half a block away.
Okay, and did he raise any concerns to you over the telephone, or just ask if you were generally available?
He just explained to me that what he was there for. He was there for audit. I mean, at the time, he was pretty nice. He explained to me that what to do. He explained to me how to upload everything. He told me what the time that I had to do it. He told me that there really wouldn't be any violations on me, but the HVAC guys kind of pissed him off a little bit because they were still continuing to work while he were there. And we just had a great conversation, and attendance came in the mail. So it was like unsurprisingly, he never mentioned anything about any insurance or anything. It was just mostly the OSHA cards that he had a concern about.
Okay. Thank you. So in this city exhibit, I guess it's page 18. I'm not sure what the labeling is.
Exhibit C5.
C5. Thank you, Solicitor Cohen. Mr. Williams, the first contractor that was discussed in prior testimony on page 19. Can you see this picture?
Yes, I do.
Do you recognize this individual?
Yes, I do.
Is he an employee of Asset Assistance, or is he a subcontractor?
It's an independent subcontractor. Well, I wouldn't say a subcontractor, basically a labor. They were there putting foam into the they were fire blocking. And they just known to do that, but they actually, I think I sent you their OSHA cards.
Right. Do you know this individual's name?
His particular name is I can't pronounce it, but it's on one of the cards that they gave me to send to you.
Okay, thank you. And do you recognize this individual?
Yes, they're from the same person.
So he's not an employee of Asset Assistance LLC?
No, he's not an employee.
Okay. Did you advise the inspector on site that morning that they were employees of Asset Assistance LLC?
I advised them that they were doing the fire blocking for Asset Assistance.
Okay. Thank you. And this individual here, do you know who this individual is?
He works for the HVAC company.
Okay, and what is the name of that company?
Is it Air Temp or something? I don't have it in front of me, but
okay.
it's here.
So he on the date of the investigation was not an employee of Asset Assistance LLC.
No, he works for the HVAC company.
Okay. I am going to present into evidence exhibits A4 and A5. Can you see this document?
Actually, the city objects to both of those exhibits. I had a chance to look at them before this hearing. They are both dated June 1st of 2024, which is a couple of days after May 29th. So again, there's the same relevance issue.
Yeah, Mr. Chung, the other matter here is whether they had them with them at the time of the investigation.
Right. Well, the issue is also the city is asserting that these were employees of Asset Assistance
we
LLC.
haven't yet confirmed. Mr. Williams did not state on the record who they work for. He didn't say which company they work for.
Are you
Well,
your
Mr. Williams, do you know if they were employees of a company or well, you stated they were independent contractors. Do you know if they were?
They're independent contractors. They normally do like fire blocking for a lot of contractors, and they do like a lot of maybe like installation for a lot of contractors.
That still doesn't answer the question who they work
Well, they're
for.
not an employee of Asset Assistance.
That's not the question. Who do they work for?
They work for themselves, so their names are on their OSHA certificate.
Oh, so the independent company purpose, so they work for you. Okay, let's go. So that's why the objection is sustained by the city?
Okay. Okay, so you uploaded these, so did you respond to the June 12th notice of violation letter by uploading documents to the Eclipse system?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I responded on the 5th.
Okay. Did you receive any emails from the Department of License and Inspection stating that you were missing any documents or additional documentation was required?
I received an original email prior to after the conversation with the inspector, telling me that you have until the 6th to get it in. And I did upload them on the 5th, but nowhere in that email that I read, I needed to respond, by email back as well. And upload is more just sufficient because the proof is right in Eclipse.
Okay, and that email was sent by Inspector Slade?
It's been a while. I don't remember who exactly sent it, but I did get an email from L&I telling me that I had until the 6th to upload it, and I uploaded it on the 5th.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions at this time.
Any cross-examination, Mr. Cohen?
Yes, I was going to ask Mr. Chung to please unshare his screen. I will share my screen for cross-examination. All right. Good afternoon, Mr. Williams. Good evening at this point, I think. Let's actually start with that email that is on page 27 in the city's packet. Do you see here in orange where it says submit your response by email to this email address, as well as add subcontractors to your permit in Eclipse?
Yeah, I see it now. I do.
Okay, so that would have instructed you to do both methods, right?
Yes, it does say that here and here. It do say that.
Now, with respect to the uploading of the certificates of insurance, you said at the beginning of your testimony that you're the person in control, that you're the person who handles the insurances. Does that also mean it's your responsibility to make sure your certificates of insurance are uploaded to L&I?
Our certificates of insurance are always uploaded to L&I. So I'm not sure what glitch or what happened here, but we never had an issue with L&I.
Well, hold on. I'm going to ask my question again because that wasn't really a response to the question. Yes or no, are you the person responsible for uploading the certs of insurance?
The answer to your question is yes.
Okay, and I just would ask all parties to please do not talk while someone else is speaking. And we're trying to make sure the record remains clear. Thank you.
Now going back to the photographs starting on page 19. So it's your testimony now that person in this photograph is an independent contractor. But it was Inspector Slade's testimony that you told Inspector Slade he was one of my employees.
I didn't tell him to say that.
But is Inspector Slade lying? Is that what you're alleging today?
Maybe he don't remember like a lot of things he said he didn't remember.
Well, you did hear Inspector Slade's testimony. He was clear in his testimony that this individual on page 19 and this individual on page 20 worked for Asset Assistance, but this individual on page 22 was identified as a subcontractor on May 29th of 2024. Did you hear that testimony?
I heard him, and when I heard him, that wasn't correctly the way that it was presented to him. So I did hear him, but he was testifying at the time.
So it's your testimony now that Inspector Slade is mistaken?
No, it's my testimony now that Inspector Slade either had miscommunication or he just didn't understand what we were saying, what I was saying to him.
Whose insurance, general liability and workers' comp insurance, covered this employee on page 19 on the day, May 29th of 2024?
I would guess their workers' comp insurance and their liability insurance covered them.
And the same with the worker on page 20, it's your testimony that they were not covered by your general liability and workers' comp insurances?
That's correct.
What was their subcontractor license number?
I don't have their subcontractor number.
But wouldn't that information have been required of you back on, you'll forgive me, back here on May 30th of 2024, list all subcontractors or all contractors of any tier that will perform work under the attached subcontractor audit form. So wouldn't you have had to have their subcontractor trade license numbers per this email?
If I'm being honest with you, I didn't fully think that someone spraying foam needed the contractor's license. So if I'm wrong in that sense, then that's my mistake. But I didn't think that they needed a contractor license for installing spray foam inside of a home. So that wasn't, something that was presented to us because this was kind of like a thing that these guys normally do for contractors.
So currently at this hearing, you either don't have or can't remember their trade license numbers.
That's correct. I don't have.
Thank you. I have no further cross and I will stop sharing my screen.
Okay, thank you very much. We're open to questions from the panel. Anyone have a question of Mr. Williams?
Yes, I do have a question, Mr. Williams. I believe you testified with regard to the certificates of insurance that they were submitted to the city of Philadelphia, but sent back to the insurance company because of an address issue. Was that your testimony?
Yeah, so on the bottom of the certificate, it has the lien, not the lien holder. It has the cert, the holder, the certificate holder on the bottom. And at the bottom of it, I'm not sure if it's on one of those, but it says like JFK Boulevard 1400, something like that. That was actually the wrong address. So when it's time to renew our policy, the insurance company normally sends a new one to the city. I didn't know that that address was wrong for some reason, or the city switched from 1401 JFK Boulevard.
So may I stop you right there because you did answer, you
Go
did
ahead.
basically answer my question. My
Okay.
next question is then, if that policy covered the period from, let's see if I have the dates correct. But I believe that policy was supposed to cover the period somewhere between May of 2023 to, I don't have the dates right. Inspection was May. From 2023 through 2024.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
That was what the certificate was originally supposed to cover. Did you submit that certificate of insurance to the city of Philadelphia at the beginning of the effective period, which would have been in 2023? Is that when it was submitted to the city?
It was submitted to the city on my behalf when it was time to renew the license. So when it's time.
All right, so I'm sorry, but that doesn't, so you're then telling us that if it was submitted when it should have been renewed, then where was the original certificate that would have been issued to cover that period of 2023 through 2024? It seemed that the effective renewal date, it was effective up until 11 of 2024. Where was the certificate that showed that it became effective in November of 2023? Where was that certificate?
I'm not sure. Maybe they're not presenting it, but we never had a lapse of insurance. We always uploaded our insurance.
But you testified. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
So you're asking me about the dates. And as far as in the business part, we just always just upload the insurance. We have the dates. We never have a lapse of insurance. So when you ask me about these dates at this very moment, I'm not sure because we just always just upload our insurance. It just never has been an issue. Ellen and I stopped our projects because.
Okay, let me stop you there. If you then always upload your insurance, my question then is, where was the original certificate of insurance that would have been presented at the beginning of the period 11/17/2023? Where is that certificate that you testified was returned to Geico?
We have it. I didn't know that I would need it, but we have all the insurance certs. We have every insurance cert that we ever needed. We have it. And the reason you see the date up there is probably the date when we noticed or that they called or we had got some type of notice that it was returned. So they gave me one with that particular date on it with the effective dates on it. So
it's your testimony that your insurance carrier chose not to return the correct certificate of insurance for a period of 1 year?
No, that's not true. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying because we presented to you as evidence all of the dates that we were covered. We presented everything. So I'm not sure if we have some type of miscommunication here, but we presented in our exhibit every date of coverage. So I'm probably not.
What was presented, excuse me for interrupting, Mr. Williams. I don't disagree that what was presented was a certificate dated for October, I believe, of 2024, covering that period of time from 23 through 24. My question to you is, where is the original certificate that you testified was returned to Geico because of an error in an address at the bottom of the form?
I have it. It's in probably our portal. I didn't know that I would need it, but I have it. I thought that providing insurance for the time period that they were there and said that we didn't have insurance would be sufficient enough. So I provided that documentation to show that we were covered during that time, and we were covered the whole time.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Yes, additional questions, yeah.
Mr. Williams, I have a question. If we can back up a minute to something I want to reference. You're a general contractor licensed in the city of Philadelphia, correct?
That's correct.
That was your testimony. So when you're on the site, you are the manager or the site supervisor, correct?
Yes, when I'm near. We have a couple managers, but yes, when I'm near, that's correct.
Okay, so it is your responsibility to make sure all your contractors, whether they are independent or not, have all the requirements are needed for the permit that is pulled to do the work there, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, but in this case, in this instance, the two individuals that were there did not have the document they needed, but they were working for you. Even if they were working independently, you hired them, correct? And they were on your job site, correct?
That's correct.
And you're a licensed contractor, knowing that that's supposed to be handled by you and managed by you, correct?
That's correct. I didn't know that we needed a documentation for someone to spray foam in the hole. So
But you're a licensed general contractor.
that's correct.
It's not whether, it wasn't in particular what they're doing, any subcontractor. It says any subcontractor. You're responsible to make sure they have all the documents necessary on your work site per that permit, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Williams, how long have you worked as a general contractor in Philadelphia?
Maybe this is 24. Maybe 15 years.
All 15 as a general contractor
That's correct.
under the same name?
I worked under a different company some years back.
Okay. And were you the owner of that other company?
I was a partner.
And you were the owner of this company that's at issue today, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. What is the size of that project that's being cited?
How do you want me to describe it as far as the size?
Or either total square foot or number of units, however you choose to.
Total square foot is about 10,000 square feet.
Okay. And that's a mixed-use building, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And you said something about not having a full list of subcontractors at that initial inspection. You didn't know who your subs were when the inspector was there doing the investigation?
At the initial inspection that they pulled up on the screen was 3-3. It was in March. In March, none of the subcontractors were fully locked in at that point. There were only contractors that they had permits for, and that was all the rough, plumbing, HVAC, framing, building. So all the subs weren't really in place at that point. Not really on our behalf, but it was just more of, the owner going back and forth as far as the finances. So we hadn't locked in these people at that point.
Okay.
So, go ahead.
But now you were independent of the owner, correct?
I'm independent owner, but he controls the finances of the project.
Well, are you the general contractor working at an arm's length relationship with the owner of the building?
When you say arm's length, what do you mean?
Meaning you bid on the job, you won the job based on your reputation and the price that you offered to the owner.
Correct. That's true.
So you bought the job out before you started, right?
No, this one was a little bit different because me and the owner have a relationship. So this project was a little bit different. It was a bigger project for the both of us. It was our first big project for both of us. So we kind of went a lot of back and forth with this one. This was new to both of us.
Okay. So essentially, you don't know whether you're going to make money or not.
No, it wasn't that I didn't know whether I would make money or not, but essentially it was just new to both of us. So it took a lot of him figuring out, me figuring out, and it just was a process, that we had to kind of figure out because it was new. Once again, it was just new to both of us.
Okay. And you were responsible for all the administrative work, job site management, hiring and firing of all contractors, making sure all the paperwork was in place, permits were pulled, et cetera.
Yeah, we started out with the architectural company doing all the permits and things like that. And then once all those things were done, it basically came back to me at that point. But in the beginning, the architectural firm did all the permitting, did all the planning, did all that type of stuff. And then
you did the initial submissions. Okay.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. All right. Anything else from anyone?
I have a question. I have a question. Mr. Williams, as a general contractor on a project, do you have like a safety program with subcontractor comes on site?
We have never did a safety program.
Okay, thank you. And as far as the caulking or foaming you were saying, was that fire stopping?
It's fire blocking, that's correct.
Were you aware that the manufacturer requires come out and certify anybody who's doing the fire caulking, fire stopping with their product?
No, we were never told that.
All right, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else from anyone? We'll move on to final argument. Mr. Chung, we'll hear from you, and then we'll conclude with Mr. Cohen.
Sure. Thank you, Chairman, and members of the board for your patience and for getting through the testimony today. Also appreciate the continuance from the initial listing. The alleged violations stem from subcontractor specific issues, specifically the absence of OSHA 10 certifications. Based on the testimony of Mr. Williams, the 3 individuals that were identified by the inspector were not employees of Asset Assistance LLC. And while Mr. Williams is the GC and responsible for hiring and keeping track of subcontractors, you know, I don't know if there's if it's fair to say that he should be responsible for checking individual OSHA cards every time someone appears on site. While the documents that we had prepared to show that the 2 individuals had OSHA certifications following that date, you know, I don't know if we would have an opportunity to present evidence to show that they actually had OSHA cards prior at the time of the investigation. And some of these secondary violations, namely the lack of a certificate of insurance and the auto insurance policy. Mr. Williams has testified that he at all times has held policies, current and up-to-date policies. And I think it was just a matter of either, you know, they didn't upload or they did upload, but they weren't sent properly to the right address from the insurance company. In light of the facts presented by Mr. Williams, the appellant, we respectfully request that the board mark the notice of violation as improperly written and dismissed at this time.
Thank you. Mr. Cohen?
Thank you. Try to be brief, but simply put, Mr. Williams's testimony is not credible. First, the independent contractors were independent contractors, but he slipped a couple of times and called them laborers. And he didn't know their subcontractor trade license numbers, even though that was a question specifically asked of him in the June 6th email that he admits he received. So if they didn't have trade license numbers and he's not sure what insurance was covering them, then it goes to, more likely than not, it goes to show that they were in fact day laborers hired by Mr. Williams that he's now trying to pawn off and say, no, they were responsible for their own insurances. I wasn't responsible for them or their training or their coverage. And I'll actually show you why, if I can share the exhibits on my screen again. Something I'm not sure if anyone caught.
Could you
Down
enlarge that, Mr. Cohen, please?
Oh, absolutely. Sorry. I wanted to point out on page 25 in City's Exhibit C8, right up here, you see the sole worker exemption. That means that Mr. Williams, his company, does not have employees. He does not carry workers' compensation insurance. He provided the exemption to L&I and provides it every year so that he doesn't have to carry that type of expensive insurance. He couldn't tell me who was covering these independent contractors / day laborers who were there physically on May 29th. because the inference being they were unlicensed, they were uninsured, and they were hired for the day by Mr. Williams to do work at his site. And Mr. Slade, Inspector Slade, was very clear in his testimony that those two workers, Mr. Williams said, those two workers work for me, distinguishing them from the worker on page 22, who was I think an air or HVAC subcontractor, who was identified as a subcontractor on May 29th. Something else I'm not sure that the board or that the appellant noticed. Over here, the general liability insurance policy that was uploaded on October 24th, it expired on November 17th of 2024, and proof of insurance for general liability has not been provided to L&I to date. So that's 2 years in a row where Mr. Williams has failed to properly upload proof of his insurance to L&I. And I'm actually going to go scroll down now to the bottom of the city's packet, which are the actual laws at issue that cover insurances and contractors, etc. Over here, 9-1004 sub 5. All contractors licensed under this section shall maintain comprehensive general liability insurance, motor vehicle liability insurance, and more importantly, failure to maintain proper insurance and to provide proof of continued coverage can result in revocation or non-renewal of a contractor's license. There may be penalties for failing to provide those certificates of insurance. So those certificates need to be provided by the contractor, not by the insurance company, it's not their job, it's not their responsibility. They need to be provided by the contractor, and they need to be provided promptly so that L&I knows when they go out to a work site, like they did on May 29th of 2024, they know these insurances are either in place or they know they don't have proof of any insurance for that work site. And that's also part of required conduct. Submitting subcontractor information is part of the required conduct of a contractor, so is complying with provisions of the Philadelphia Code, like providing proper insurances, and cooperating in any audit, providing prompt, accurate, and complete responses. We actually heard from Mr. Williams that he provided, jumping out of page 29, he provided subcontractor info through the Eclipse system on June 5th. That was then logged 5 days later. But that isn't what he was asked to do. The email very clearly says, submit your response by email, as well as adding the information in through Eclipse. And you even heard Manager Paralak testify as to why, because the email, this subcontractor audit form, provides L&I with more information than they would get just through an Eclipse submission. That's what L&I was looking for, and that's what L&I still has not gotten to date. So in this case, it should be fairly clear. The violations aren't just for insurance coverage, they're for not providing proof of insurance. They're not just for OSHA certifications, they're for having the OSHA card while on the worksite. The evidence in this case is very clear. There were no OSHA cards on May 29th for those two workers. There was no insurance, proof of insurance in place in L&I's hand on that date. And there was still no full cooperation with L&I's audit to date. Thank you, members of the board.
Thank you very much. We will now poll the board regarding HA 2024-002909, 4512 Lancaster Avenue, Asset Assistance LLC, City affirmed.
City affirmed.
City affirmed.
City affirmed.
Unanimous vote, city affirmed. You lost your appeal. Thank you, Mr. Chong and Mr. Williams, for your participation. Of course, Mr. Chong, you have the right to appeal our decision. All decisions of this board are appealable to the Court of Common Pleas. Thank you very much. The witnesses are excused for the day. This matter has been completed. Let's move on.
Thank you, members of the board. Thank you
board.
also to Mr. Chung for your courtesy in this case. And thank you, Inspector Slade and Manager Paralak.
That's it. I've been informed that that was our last matter for today's hearing. Thank you very much, everyone, for your participation, and have a good evening.
Good evening, members of the board.